thumbs up. Give me a thumbs up. Yeah, okay, great. And we're on the right network. And let's get started. Dear Lord, we thank you so much for your wonderful hand upon us. We thank you for your continued hand of protection against all the craziness in the world today. We ask for your continued guidance and wisdom. And most importantly, Lord, may we be a reflection of you, and may we bestow the blessings you bestow upon us, upon others. In Jesus' name, amen. So let's just jump right in, get right to it. Go ahead, and I'm going to share my screen. A lot of stuff to cover today. Move that over where I can see it and it's not in my way. And here we go. 21 Days of Real Estate Riches. And of course, again, everybody should have gotten their student workbook for week number 3. If you got your student workbook, please give me a thumbs up, put it in the chat box. I got it. I know there's a couple people, and as I mentioned yesterday, there's some issues with getting emails out to people who have Apple emails at me.com, at mac.com, and Yahoo emails. And also the file's pretty good size. It's 5 megabytes. So that's a good size file. So some people don't have their settings set to receive files that large. So I apologize. If you still didn't get it, please go to needhelpasklisa.com, and Lisa will make arrangements either to email it directly to you or print it out and drop it in the mail to you, okay? But I am going to be going through it today just like I promised. Also, real quick, the apprentice class is filling up very, very quick. I think we have about 5 or 6 seats left. Those will go very quickly as we come up on one of our monthly club meetings. People normally sort of swarm and grab those last couple of seats. So I would strongly recommend that you go ahead and sign up for it, select the payment plan. If you got any questions or you need a different payment plan, you can reach out to Lisa and she'll take care of you. Best way to get a hold of Lisa is needhelpasklisa.com, and she takes care of that kind of stuff. Also, several of you have decided that you want to use Real Investors for your buyer broker. You want to have that fiduciary relationship. Go to, I will be meeting with you next Wednesday. I'll be having a meeting with you next Wednesday, 5 o'clock, and I'll be sending you the link for that meeting. I want to have a conversation with you before I turn you over to one of the Diamond coaches. Somebody says, I never received the download from Riva Global. I apologize, but we're not responsible for Riva's website. So you'll need to go back to the, what was the website she gave out? Real Virtual Assistant. You need to go back to realvirtualassistant.com and look on their help function. Because that's not a Real Investors website. That is a website that is hosted by, oh, you found it in your spam folder. Okay, great. That solved that. Boy, I'm working magic even before I get started. I love it. Also, I sent out earlier today an email, and in that email, I included a revised property inspection sheet. Hopefully everybody got that. Give me a thumbs up if you got the revised okay. And also hopefully you printed it out and you got it with you, because I'm going to go through all the forms today, just like I promised. Okay. In that very same email, there is an announcement about going to Trustpilot. Did you see that? The Trustpilot at the very bottom. Okay. So you guys remember on the very first day of class, I said, hey, here's the reason why I'm offering this up at a 90% discount. So I offered it totally for free for folks who already have the 21-day course. And then I also had several people who signed up at a 90% discount. And I said it comes with a hook. And the hook was that you would be willing to, at the very end, give me an honest review. And when I say an honest review, I mean it. If you think it's 1 star, give me 1 star. If you think it's 3 stars, give me 3 stars. If you think there's some constructive criticism, give me some constructive criticism. But I will say this, I am going to send everybody's going to get a survey at the very end in, 4 days. That's a Survey Monkey. And I'm going to ask you some more in-depth questions like how I can improve the course. So if you have comments about how to do better or how to improve it or things I should do differently next time we do it, assuming there is a next time we do it, because I told you guys, this is the first time in 20 years I've updated this course. So if it keeps on working, you don't mess with it, right? And but for my son messing with me about, what are these CD things and the decision to do it all digital, But if you have suggestions on how to improve the content or the delivery or the time of day, that kind of stuff, don't put that in Trustpilot. I would rather have you do that with the survey, because everybody will get a Survey Monkey survey, probably be about 7-8 questions. It'll be really short, 2-minute survey. And there'll be some kind of, bribe at the end, like a free t-shirt or something, because I always do that. So save those kind of comments for the survey. But if you are enjoying this and you think other people would enjoy it and you want to give me 3, 4, 5 stars, I welcome it. And Trustpilot is a true third-party service. Some folks, some of them late night TV gurus / A&E gurus have been caught, interesting enough, hiring virtual assistants to post reviews and rankings in their Amazon book ratings, and also they're come up with fake testimonials. That's not us. We don't do that. And Trustpilot makes sure that we can't do that. They do verify the ISP. They make sure that they're not coming from the same place. They make sure that they are legitimate reviews, and that's what we want, legitimate reviews. And I want your honest critique. If you think I'm only deserving a 1 star, give me 1. If you think I'm deserving a 5, give me 5, 4. It doesn't matter. Just be honest. And again, you give them to Trustpilot, and I don't see them until after the fact. And if you want to remain anonymous, you can certainly do so. So again, I just want to remind you guys, everybody promised they would give me some kind of a rating, but at the end, if you want to go ahead and do it now, I know we're not at the end yet. We still got 4 days to go, but if you want to give it to me now, I'll take it. But I just want to make sure I mentioned it so I don't forget, okay? How long a review? As long as you want. I don't think there is any particular word limitation. So if you really want to go deep, that's wonderful. If you want to give it short, just say 5 stars, it was great, or 3 stars, it was pretty good, or 1 star, I don't ever want to see the guy again. Whatever it is you want to honestly say, please go to Trustpilot and tell them how you actually feel, okay? All right, so moving right along. Again, thank you guys for doing your homework. I have been going in and critiquing the homework that was uploaded yesterday. Many of you did go to realvirtualassistant.com and download that 100, actually it was not 101, sorry. It was like 100 plus, I think is what it was called, 100 plus things a VA can do for you. And there was some really good stuff in there. I never, truth in advertising, I've never really used a virtual assistant because I understand the power of having an assistant. So I hired somebody, and then after several years, when she left, Lisa came on the scene, which was about 15 years ago. So I've always had a paid assistant. And when I first got started, it was a part-time person. Then I moved to a full-time on payroll person, and then immediately moved to an office staff. That's a lot of overhead, to be honest with you. And and I didn't pay my virtual assistant minimum wage, but some of the other staff made minimum wage. And minimum wage is now $15 an hour. So, and quite frankly, the whole virtual assistant thing wasn't even on the scene when I got started 20 plus years ago, became full-time real estate investor. Had I known then what I know now, I probably would have picked up a virtual assistant very, very early on. But by the time I started hearing about virtual assistants, which was about 12, 15 years ago, I had already been using assistants, and therefore never really went that route. But I see the value, and I probably will be picking up 1 or 2 virtual assistants myself. Probably not so much for the putting the offers in the street, because I really, quite frankly, I would rather you guys put the offers in the street and then bring the deals to me. So I don't want to be competing out there in the marketplace with you guys. I want to be sort of your preferred buyer, because I'm not really in the wholesaling game. If you guys want to wholesale deals to me and partner with me, I'm certainly open to that. But I don't want to be out there competing with you guys. I don't want to be teaching you this and then competing head to head with you. I don't want to do that. I'd rather be partnering with you and helping you, because the better job you guys do wholesaling, the better job you do bringing me deals. And since I'm kind of this sort of the lazy man's way to real estate investing, teach you guys how to do it, let you guys do it, and bring the deals to me and write you a check. I'm okay with that, okay? So, but there are some other things that I could probably use some virtual assistants for, like the social media. So that was pretty eye-opening to me to see all the different ways. And I'm even getting some ideas about what I should have done in the past in terms of booking some of my TV appearances when I was doing the book tour for the 7 Habits book. And I got another book coming out soon that I'll probably wind up doing some kind of a book tour, especially now that most book tours now, you can basically sit at home like me in my man cave with my virtual background and not even have to leave the house. So I probably will do a couple more book tours, and a virtual assistant is really good for that. And then some of the other just sort of ministerial tasks of having a virtual assistant rather than bringing on board another staff person, because it's just so darn cost effective, and the quality of the talent is so high. So I will be using the service myself. But again, I appreciate you guys doing the homework. And if you missed the homework assignment for yesterday, it was go to realvirtualassistant.com, download the white paper on all the different ways that you can use a virtual assistant. And then if you have a quote unquote aha moment, post that along with, well, just post your aha moment after you get through, scanning or reading that white paper. And it was pretty good stuff in there, so I highly recommend it. So again, here's where we are, week 3, talking about putting this thing on autopilot. I'm going to go through all of the checklists today. And again, as I said yesterday, in sort of an abbreviated fashion, the purpose of going through the checklists, the purpose of going through the step-by-step procedure, which is what I'm doing today, is not so much that you learn it to do it, but that you learn it well enough to teach it to somebody else. That's the key. That's the key. Because most of you, quite frankly, will be in a position to bring on board a virtual assistant and have them paying for themselves probably in about a month or 2. Some of you even faster, and quite frankly, some of you who are really struggling to even keep up because you quote unquote don't have the time, you may want to be the first ones to go get a virtual assistant because you're like, Sherman, I'm smart, I get it, I don't have the time, let me just pay somebody to do this stuff because my day job is so high pressured, high demanding. You're the one who should be getting the virtual assistant first. And again, learn it well enough to teach it to somebody else. What does that mean? Work with the documents in real time for 21 days, get to the point that you're actually getting responses from your offers, because again, the purpose of putting out offers is not to get a deal. The purpose of putting out offers is to get highest and best or get a response. So as soon as you start getting a 3 to 4% response, you are ready to go hire a virtual assistant. For just about everybody who actually does what I've been teaching you guys for the past 18 days, you're going to be in that position to do that within the next 30 days. Okay. If you actually implement what I've been teaching you, you should expect to start seeing some highest and best. When you start seeing highest and best, it means it's working. And you guys remember what I said yesterday, never automate anything unless you know it works. Well, when you start getting the highest and best, you know that that part of your business is working. That's when you go get yourself a virtual assistant. And I'm going to show you today how you can pay for that person off of your first or second deal. Okay. So as soon as you start getting responses, you should be interviewing. And the second you get your first check, which will happen very quickly, you should be hiring a virtual assistant. And I'll show you exactly how to do that today. Okay. Do you already go over creating a website? No, I'm going to go over creating a website tomorrow. I don't have a book I signed up 2 days ago. Okay, Bruce, we will get you a book. I apologize for that. How long to review? Okay, I already answered that one. All right, so here's where we are. We got about 4 days left. We will be covering each one of these. In fact, today, I'll kind of start the process of what you do to pivot. Tomorrow, we'll go full on. Here's what you should be doing after you get the system up and running and have a virtual assistant running it for you, okay? So again, here's where we are, managing the system. Yesterday we talked about rules of automation, putting on autopilot. Today we're gonna talk about, getting yourself in the mindset to manage your system because it's gonna be on autopilot. And then what to do once you're in motion. And then tomorrow and for the remaining days, we'll be talking about reverse wholesaling, 10X wholesaling secrets, a look over my shoulder, 3-minute website. So 3-minute websites is a couple of days away. And then really sort of what are your next steps? Because the last thing we really need to talk about, well, okay, now that I've shown you how to do this, what's next, okay? All right, so quick review. We talked about this yesterday, day before. Does everybody fully understand this concept of exit strategies? All right, does everybody fully understand what the term exit strategy means? If you understand what the word exit, the phrase exit strategy means, type it in the chat box. Type in the chat box your best understanding of what exit strategy means. Please put that in the chat box right now, please. Put it in the chat box. Tell me what you think exit strategy means. Type it in the chat box. Take your time, don't rush. I don't care about typos. Okay, when to keep and decline a deal? Not exactly. 3 ways to get out of a deal, yes. Tangible way out of your deal, yes. Ways to get out of a deal, yes. How you get out of a deal, yes. Okay, now, let me explain something. When I say get out of a deal, I don't mean exercising the weasel clause. That's not what I mean. When I say exit strategy, I mean how you will exit the deal. Okay, so I don't want any confusion on that point. Your exit strategy is how you will exit the deal, meaning how will you profitably make money coming out of this deal? And there are three options. Number one, wholesale. This is fundamentally a class about building a wholesaling machine and putting it on autopilot. When you really break it down, what's the 21-day course about? It's about how to build an auto. It's like how to get your first deal done in 21 days, and then very quickly build a wholesaling machine and put it on autopilot. That is what the 21-day course is all about. Well, Sherman, why do you call it to get your first deal, put it on autopilot? Because that's a lot less sexier than 20. How many people think 21 days to real estate riches is a sexy phrase? Sexy, big sexy. Come on, give me a thumbs up. Yeah, thank you. Because that's just so much sexier. Now, what exactly is it? How to get your first deal done, 21 days or less, and then very quickly from the knowledge you grasp, build a wholesaling machine, a six-figure wholesaling machine, and put it on autopilot. That's what the 21-day course is all about. So there's always the possibility that you put a deal under contract and your intention is to wholesale it to somebody else, but that strategy falls apart. That's exactly what happened to me on 938 Capitol Heights Boulevard. Let me see something real quick. See if I got a picture. Hey, here we go. This is the next slide. That's exactly what happened to me on this deal. This deal right here was supposed to be a wholesale deal. And I was going to make $10,000 as a wholesaler. And the person I was going to wholesale it to had given me $5,000 non-refundable and called me up 3 days before we were supposed to close and told me that she couldn't go forward on the deal. And there was not enough time to wholesale it to somebody else. Now, I could have just taken her 5 Gs and be done with it, except the hard money lender who I talked to about the deal said to me the reason he would not, in fact, provide her the funding to go forward is because her husband refused to sign off on the paperwork. And I called him up trying to convince him to think otherwise. And he said to me the magic words that I just couldn't answer, which is, Sherman, if her husband doesn't trust her with the money, why should I? And I had no comeback for that. I mean, how do you come back from that? On top of which, quite frankly, looking back on it, it was kind of a foolish thing to do because the number one golden rule of money is he who holds the gold makes the rules. So his rules were, if I'm going to provide you close to 100% of the money you need to get a house rehab and you're married, I want both signatures on the loan. It wasn't a, she's a woman and I'm not going to, no, it was like if the husband had borrowed it, he would have wanted the wife's signature. He was an equal opportunity. You play by my rules or you don't play at all. So when I called him up to try to convince him somehow, some way, because I wanted that 10 G's wholesale fee, I needed the 10 grand. He said to me, if her husband doesn't trust her, why should I? To which I could not offer a viable answer. And then he said something very quick and let me off the hook. He said, Sherman, this is a really good deal you put together. And at this point in time, I had brought him about 4 or 5 borrowers. He was the first guy to give me a proof of funds letter. He was the one who said to me when he gave me the proof of funds letter, because he didn't charge me and everybody else wanted to charge me, he said, Sherman, I know you're going to wholesale, but do me a favor. If you wind up wholesaling the deal, please encourage the person that you wholesale to at least call me. Now, that was my favor to him. He was giving me a proof of funds letter, charging me no money up front. And he's like, okay, here's the deal. I'll give you the proof of funds letter. It won't expire for 90 days because most jokers out there who give you proof of funds letters, they want to charge you $250 or $500 every time they give you one, and it expires within a week, which means you continuously have to go back to them, get a new proof of funds letter, and give them another $250. It's a profit center for a lot of hard money lenders. Rex had the long view, and he's like, I'll give it to you, Sherman, 90-day expiration on the proof of funds letter. Just do me a favor. Anybody who you wholesale to, please send them my way to see if I can. In other words, he was converting me into his evangelist. He was converting me into an affiliate. And I want to bring in him about 4 deals before I brought him this one. This was my 5th deal. And this was the only one to crash and burn from a wholesale perspective. But he said to me, this is a really good deal. And because she had put up $5,000. Now, how do you want to put up $5,000 when, Sherman, you keep on saying you only need to put up $1,000? Well, I put up $1,000. I put the property in the contract. I wholesaled it to this buyer. The buyer needed a 30-day extension on top of our 30 days to close. She was already having challenges getting her act together, getting all the pieces lined up. And so she needed an extension. So when I went back to the seller and said to the seller, hey, we need an extension, the seller said, okay, now I need a $3,000 non-refundable earnest money deposit. So I had $1,000 that I put out, and my strategy, and you guys have heard me say this over and over again over the past several days, if I put out $1,000, when I wholesale the deal to somebody else, I ask for $2,000. Because if the deal falls apart, I want to at least not only recover my $1,000, but make $1,000 for my effort. Now that's the worst possible scenario, because at this point I probably put in 10, 15 hours and I'm only going to walk away with $1,000, but I'm still making out better than if I went to go flip burgers at McDonald's. So it's not the end of the world. Now, because she needed an extension and we got an extension negotiated with the seller said, we will give you one more 30-day extension for another $3,000. So now she put up another $3,000, but I didn't get that. That actually went into the seller's, in an instant like that, and the seller demands that you put it in their hands, $3,000 non-refundable to give you a 30-day extension. That's almost a non-negotiable thing. But that was not coming from me, the wholesaler. That was coming from her, the buyer. So now here we are, 3 days away from closing, when she's already missed the first 30-day deadline, and now she's getting ready to miss the second 30-day deadline. And I got to call Rex, or I took it on my own to call Rex and said, Rex, hey man, is there any way you could possibly make her this loan in the back of my mind so I can get my $10,000, the rest of my wholesale fee, wholesale profit, excuse me. And he's like, no, I'm not going to do it. But then he said, this is a really good deal. On top of which, you've already got $5,000 in the deal, Sherman. If you keep her money, I'll loan you basically 100% of what you need to close. So now all of a sudden, exit strategy number one, put it under contract, wholesale to somebody else, now falls apart. But because it was a good deal and I had negotiated a good price, now the hard money lender saying, I'll loan the money to you 3 days out from closing, which, oh, by the way, as I said before, the right hard money lender will make you filthy stinking rich. That's the right hard money lender. He was willing to loan to another person, and he immediately says, Sherman, I'll loan it to you. He hadn't pulled a credit check. He knew nothing about my background. All he knew was that this was a good deal, and the person he was willing to loan the money to would not play by his rules. So he was willing to loan the money to somebody else that he thought he could trust. And at this point in time, we had known each other for just over a year. And he's like, yeah, you're a good guy. You know how to put together good deals. This is a good deal. Sherman, I'll loan the money to you. So I went upstairs, because at that time my home office was in my basement. No, I didn't have a virtual assistant. No, I didn't have any assistants back then. I went upstairs, talked to my wife, told her what the situation was, told her she would have to co-sign on the loan. And she's like, is it a good deal? I'm like, yeah. She's like, let's do it. So this was a Wednesday. On Friday, we're going to settlement, and I'm settling on this house, and it cost me something like $93 or $94. It was less than $100. My contribution to the closing was less than $100. We rehabbed the house. So it went from looking like this to looking like this. We rehabbed the house, resold the house, and I made $43,000 on that deal for roughly about 2 months worth of work. Okay, whoever has unmuted yourself, please mute yourself. Who's ever unmuted yourself, please mute yourself back up. Okay, appreciate it. Let me just do that. So long story short, exit strategy A, put it under contract, assign the contract, get paid, got pulled out from underneath me. But I still had 2 more exit strategies. I could rehab it and resell it, or rehab it and rent it. I opted to go ahead, take the loan from Rex, rehab it, and resell it, made $43,000. So instead of making $10,000 today, I made $43,000 2 months later. Does everybody see how that works? So my exit strategies were, hey, if I buy it right, I can wholesale the contract and make a quick profit. Hey, if I buy it right, I can rehab the property and make a bigger profit. Hey, if I buy it right, I can rehab the property and rent it out and get a nice rental income. That's what I mean by 3 exit strategies, okay? Does everybody understand that? If you understand that, give me a thumbs up. So it's not, if I get the deal declined, it's not my weasel clause. Don't confuse exit strategy with weasel clause. It's when I'm getting ready to actually buy this property as a wholesaler, ratify the contract, move forward, do I have 3 ways to exit the deal? If I have 3 good ways to exit the deal, then we have a green light. And there's only one answer when you have a green light. When you're driving your car and you come to an intersection and the light is green, what do? Put it in the chat box. When you are driving your car and you come to an accident, floor it. I am never driving in a car with you, Malika. Trust me on that. Yes, you go. You go. You go, 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 go. So here's the deal. When you start doing your deal analysis, and today we're going to kind of walk through again for the 3rd day a little bit of deal analysis. But the truth of the matter is, the best time to do a deal analysis is when you're looking at real deals. And so doing things like participating in the upcoming apprentice class, where we put you on a team and we actually get out in the street and make offers on properties, getting yourself a diamond member coach who can work with you if you decide to go the solo route, or, you know, coming to the Dealmaker workshop and watching other people have their deals evaluated. That's how you really learn how to do deal analysis. Again, I'm repeating the phrase I shared with you at the beginning of the class. You learn this business by doing it. My mentor, James Rouse, told me that. He was right. The best way to learn this business is to do exactly what Sherman said to do and put yourself in a position that you're analyzing real deals, real deal analysis. Got it? If you understand that, give me a thumbs up. Give me a thumbs up. All right. Now, what happens if you only have 2 exit strategies? What if you look at the deal and you're like, man, it's so tight, it's so skinny. I could make money wholesaling it to somebody and maybe taking $1,000 or $2,000 wholesale fee, or I could rehab it and keep it as a rental, but only make about $500 a month. But there's just no way that anybody could come in and do a really extensive rehab and turn around and resell it and make, 30, 40, 50,000. Then you have a yellow light. And you still move forward, but you proceed with caution. And you just continue to work with your diamond coach to say, hey, is there any way possibly that we can renegotiate this deal? After I go out there with the contractor, is there any way possible? And your diamond coach said, well, when you go out with the contractor, look for these things. Look for foundation problems. Look for, something bad happening in the neighborhood. Look for, issues specific to the property. Because if you can find anything wrong that we haven't seen so far, like evidence of flood, evidence of mold, then I could probably use that as leverage to renegotiate the price and renegotiate the closing. But without seeing those things right now, there's no way I can guarantee that I can, get you a better deal. But still proceed. Don't just throw up your hands in disgust and quit. Still move forward, but move forward with caution. Okay. And if you wind up getting yourself a deal where you got it under contract, but you haven't ratified the contract yet, or maybe you do have the contract ratified, but you still have your weasel clause, and it looks like the only way you're going to make money is to go find a sucker and stick them with the deal and make a quick $1,000. Don't do the deal. That's a red light blinking in your face. Don't do that deal. Okay. Sherman, how do you decide how much you should market the deal for potential buyers? Get the property under contract and let the market tell you what it's worth. Okay. Let's put it this way. If you have 2 people who want what you have, do you have the potential for a bidding war? If you have 2 people who truly want what you have, do you have, yes, of course you do. That's the key. Get 2 people somewhere in the entire planet of, what do we got now? 3 billion, 3.2, 3.5, 3 point some billion people. Get 2 people who want your deal. In other words, build a buyer's list and let them duke it out and bid the price up against each other. That's how you do it. But if you get one person who maybe wants a deal, maybe doesn't want the deal, and you're calling them up every other day, begging them to take the deal off your hands, you're in trouble. But at the end of the day, all you need is, again, this is why I tell folks, and why I said to you guys a couple of days ago, do not waste your time mucking up the Mayo formula. You don't need to. Once you've got the property under contract, once you have it under control and it's yours, you can get people into bidding wars and get people to pay an extra $2,000 or $3,000 they weren't willing to pay. Now all of a sudden your wholesale profits go from 5,000 to 7,000, just like that, just because you made 2 phone calls. Let the marketplace do its job, okay? But you have to give them initial price for it. No, you just call up, say, hey, I got a property in 123 Maple Street. If they're an active buyer in that part of town, they know what stuff is worth. They know what it's worth. And if you mention anything, what if you mention a price that's too low? Hey, I got a property 123 Maple, and I got it under contract for 124. They're like, okay, I'll give you 124 and 500. Whereas if you just kept your mouth shut and said, hey, I got a property 123 Maple Street, they would have been 123 Maple. I got a crew working out there. That's a pretty hot neighborhood. I got a couple buyers. I got a couple of end user buyers. Let me call my real estate agent. Hey, didn't you say we had about 4 or 5 people put in offers on that last house we rehabbed over in Capitol Heights? Yeah, I'll give you 185,000. And you could have made 60,000. That's not outside the realm of possibility. Now, you normally don't see that on a phase 1 MLS deal, but Howard Johnson made $109,000 as a wholesale profit on a deal he put under contract, I think in Temple Hills. Trust me, he did not call somebody up and say, hey, I got a property under contract for 125, what do you pay me? He called up his buyer and said, I got a property under contract in this street, this part of town. What's it worth to you? This is one of the reasons why you really want to have a diamond member coach negotiating on your behalf. Because if you don't know what you don't know, you're likely to make a horrific mistake. And I don't mean in terms of losing money, but in terms of like you could have made $30,000, $40,000 on the deal, but you settled for $500 because you decided to be a bird dog. And the first time somebody said, I'll give you some money for it, you didn't even bother to try to create a bidding war because you didn't have a buyer's list. You didn't even try to build a buyer's list. You just took the first offer that came along. Some of y'all on your second marriages, you know how big a mistake that was first time around. Just saying. Don't take that for, what did mama say? You better shop around. You better shop around, girl. I'm just saying. Same as true in real estate. Okay? All right. Does everybody understand this concept of exit strategies? Yes, and yes. So we're looking to make sure when we do our deal analysis that there's 3 profitable ways to exit the deal. If we can't find a profitable way to exit the deal, then we exercise our weasel clause and we just get out. But when we say exit strategy, we mean profitable ways to move on. Profitable because we wholesaled it. I don't even know if that's the right whatchamacallit. Profitable because we were able to wholesale the deal. Profitable because we were able to buy, fix, and resell. Profitable because we were able to buy, fix, and rent. And if not us, somebody. But you may very well face a condition, a situation at some point in time in the future where your first strategy, your plan A, falls apart at the worst possible time, and you're going to be glad that you had 2 other exit strategies so you can exit the deal profitably. Does that make sense to everybody? Give me a thumbs up if it does. Okay. All right, cool. So would you put all your buyers in the same email? So when I find a deal in the early days, or when I found deals when I was a full-time wholesaler, I would send the deal to everybody on my buyers list. And then as time went on, I'm talking months, not years. As time went on, I would then find out who specifically on the list was a real buyer. And by the way, there's only one way to find out who's a real buyer. Put a deal out there and see who calls you. And so the ones who called, I would then cultivate relationships with, and that allowed me to pivot into reverse wholesaling. Reverse wholesaling is nothing other than having a buyer who you've identified first and then go shopping in those neighborhoods where they want to buy. That's what reverse wholesaling is. It's impossible to do reverse wholesaling if you don't understand wholesaling. Okay? Any questions on that? Any questions on that? All right. So everybody got that? Let's move on to the next topic. Again, this is just a review, recap. So minimize that back to where it was. Let's talk about Mayo. Anybody have any questions on Mayo? Maximum allowable offers. Everybody got a good handle on that? In your own words, please type it in the chat box. What does Mayo mean? In your own words, what does it mean? What's it mean? What does Mayo mean? Type in chat box, please. Nope. Yep. Yep. Okay. So let's go over it one more time. Mayo stands for maximum allowable offer. It is a formula. The formula looks like this. You take the fair market after repair value. Where do we find the fair market after repair value? Where do we find that? In the MLS. Exactly. We pull something called comps. When we pull our comps, let's say we find 5 properties. Will all 5 properties have the same sold price, just like a box of cereal at the Giant Food? No. What we should expect to see is a range of prices. So if I say that's a quote unquote $300,000 neighborhood, then when I look at the sales over the past 6 months, I should expect to see a house that sold for $300,000, a house that sold for $310,000, a house that sold for $295,000, and maybe a house that sold for $285,000. If those are 4 or 5 viable comps, meaning there was no short sale involved, there was no foreclosure involved, there was no, nobody bought it to rehab it. In other words, this was just normal, traditional real estate transactions, then I can say the range of values for my Mayo, my fair market after repair value, go from 285 to 305. When we buy on the low. So our calculation is based on the 285. When we sell, like resell to an end user buyer, or if we were to fix it up and resell it, we sell on the high. So when I'm talking to a potential buyer and I say, hey, I got a property under contract at 123 Maple Street, like 123 Maple, yeah, that's a good neighborhood. You know, I'll give you X. And I was expecting something a little bit more than that. Well, what's that based on? Well, you know, the last sold house, or you know, the house they're selling over there at 305. I'm not gonna tell them that I'm buying it based on 285. I'm gonna use the high. Does that make sense to everybody? Okay. So in our Mayo formula, in this example, the fair market after repair value would be 285,000. Then I multiply that by what is commonly being quoted by hard money lenders in this marketplace for their maximum loan to value. So if they're all quoting 70%, then it's 0.7. If they're all quoting 75%, it's 0.75. If we're in a really slow market like it was after the 2009, 2010 recession, hard money lenders were quoting 60%, 0.60. So that number does in fact fluctuate. So under this scenario, 285 times 0.75 looks like what? And somebody put 163, okay, 163. Is that right? 285 times 0.75 is 163? You sure about that? I mean, you could be right. I'm not actually looking at my calculator, but I will. Okay. If I take 285, 123, times 0.75, I come up with $213,000. All right. So it's 213.70, but we're not done yet. 213.70, but we're not done. From that, we subtract our repair costs. Now, how can we have repair costs if we haven't visited the property with the contractor? How can we possibly have repair costs? What do we do? If we're going to make initial offers without having actually visited, exactly, we talk to our diamond coach. We talk to somebody who's knowledgeable about what people are spending to rehab houses in that neighborhood. Now, does that mean that our diamond coach is out there rehabbing house? No. But our diamond coach has contacts and other clients and the ability to talk to people that you don't have the ability to talk to. Does everybody understand that? So we said, okay, I'm making offers in 20772, 20716, whatever, 205, right? Whatever. Do you have any idea what people are spending on rehab, what the average cost is to rehab a house there? I don't know, but I can make 2 phone calls because 2 of my clients are active in that neighborhood and I can find out for you in about 10 minutes. Will that work for you guys? It'll work for you. Give me a thumbs up. All right. So we're leveraging other people's expertise, OPE. We're leveraging the fact that they have relationships with people that we don't have yet. So they call somebody up, they make a couple of phone calls, they come back and say, look, right now it looks like it's 50,000. This is just an example. This is a training exercise. So for your offers that you will write for that neighborhood, you're going to use 50,000. What happens if you go to a different neighborhood? What happens if you go to a different neighborhood? Do you use a different cost estimate number? Yes, absolutely. Which is, by the way, one of the reasons why we don't want to be in 15 neighborhoods when we first get started. Pick one or two hot neighborhoods based on what your diamond coach is telling you. Like, and by the way, Capitol Heights is always hot. if you can't figure out if you're in the DC area, Capitol Heights, and look, by the way, every city has that. You know, I got cousins in Atlanta. I got family in Dallas. I got family in Chicago. In fact, my brother-in-law is actually a real estate attorney. Every city in America has that one part of town that's consistently the hot area for investors. So start there if you don't have any other place. In the DC area, it's Capitol Heights. Always, always. It's been that way for the 20 plus years that I have been a full-time investor. That's where I got my start. That's where my son got his start. That's where my older son got his start. Okay. Consistently, that's now. If you're outside the DC area, you'll have to figure out what the hot part of town is for you that's consistently hot. And for the most part, there's only so much money you can spend to rehab a house in Capitol Heights because all the houses are like 1,200 square feet. They're not that big. These are not 8,000 square foot McMansions, right? And cost estimates, generally speaking, are tied to square footage. Lumber costs X amount. When a contractor gives you a cost estimate, he's doing it or she's doing it based on the square footage of how much work they're going to do. When it comes to carpeting and flooring, that's based on the cubic yard. When it comes to kitchens and bathrooms, they kind of know plumbing, the cost of plumbing is going to be roughly about $25,000 to add a bathroom just to add the plumbing before you start adding in the fixtures and stuff, right? So your diamond member coach will know, and it's going to be different. So somebody says, what's the average cost in Capitol Heights? 50,000. Because the example I've been giving you guys is pretty much Capitol Heights, right? Now, if I go to Bowie, that might trail up a little bit. Is it a townhouse in Bowie? Or is it a Bowie, or is it one of the older Levitt Bowie houses, like one of the ones I showed you guys the other day when we were doing a neighborhood analysis? Or is it like, and by the way, don't just use what Sherman says in this training. You guys may be watching this training from half a country away. You guys might be watching this training as a recording 2, 3, 4, 5 years from now. Understand, last time I did this course, this 21-day course, was 20 years ago. You guys might be watching this recording 15 years from now. Is it going to be 50,000? I seriously doubt it. So ask your diamond coach. Please type that in the chat box. Ask my diamond, in other words, ask somebody who's in the marketplace when you're ready to get started. And tell them what specific neighborhood and give them some kind of an idea of what kind of houses you're going to be going after. Because duplexes and townhouses have a very different cost profile than freestanding houses. Condos, totally different altogether. So they got to, it's not just, oh, tell me what I'm going to spend in Capitol Heights. It's, are they townhouses in Capitol Heights? Are they freestanding? Is it the houses that were built in the 1980s or the houses that were built in the 1920s? Assuming there are any still left around, right? So again, this is where your coach can help you to get a handle around what numbers to fill in for both the comps as well as for the repair costs. Everybody got it? But the formula doesn't change. Just because I moved to Atlanta, I learned this business with real investors in DC and I moved to Atlanta, the formula does not change. The inputs for the formula changes, but the formula itself does not change, which is what's so great about the versatility of this. You can use this formula anywhere in the United States of America and or US territory. I can use this formula down to Virgin Islands. It doesn't change. Everybody got it? Give me a thumbs up if you understand. Okay? All right, so that was just a quick recap. Sounds to me like you guys really are getting this, so I'm not going to whip a dead pony. Let's keep going. 3 rules of automation, because we started talking about automation yesterday, right? Day 17. Never forget, Henry Ford changed the world through automation and never purchased a single piece of software. Henry Ford became a multimillionaire / billionaire off of creating the Ford Motor Company. What was the #1 thing that Henry Ford did for America and for the world? What was the one invention that he created that totally changed the whole world? Changed the world of automobile and everything else. By the way, This is how they make refrigerators. This is how they make TVs. That's right. Henry Ford created the assembly line, getting people who specialize in specific things to work on the same thing day in, day out, and moving the car along the assembly line to be built, as opposed to having different people doing different jobs. And in having people who specialize, he brought the price down, the quality up, and basically created the middle class in America. And every manufacturing company since the Ford Motor Company has followed the same model. McDonald's follows the same model. McDonald's, for crying out loud. You think they hire these kids for minimum wage and let them decide how they want to make a quarter pounder? Oh, heck no. You think the kids who make the quarter pounders get to work the cash register? No, they don't. If you work cash register, you work cash register. If you make quarter pounders, you make quarter pounders. If you're working the fryer, you work the fryer. And very rarely do you switch jobs. Assembly lines are what made America great. And quite frankly, China a threat, because China basically picked up on it too and said, hey, the one thing we got more than anybody else is people. We can put people on assembly lines. But the point I'm making, though, quite frankly, is it's not about software. So many people think, oh, if I'm going to automate my business, I need to go find a piece of software. No, you don't. You need to find other people who will do the job better, faster, and cheaper than you will, so that you get to keep 90% of the profits for doing 10% of the work, which means the other person is doing 90% of the work and only keeping 10% of the profits. That's the key to automation, not software. Number one, never automate a process that does not work. Make sure you understand what your stated outcome is. That's why we're going to go through these documents today. Make sure you understand what your stated outcome is. What is the number one goal for putting written offers in the marketplace? Please put that in the chat box. What's the number one goal for putting written offers out? What is it? Conversation. What else? Conversation. Start a conversation. Yep. Start a conversation about price. Even better. Start a conversation. Maximum amount offer converse. I don't know what that means. Highest and best. Yes. The number one reason for putting out written offers is to position ourselves, and more importantly, our Diamond member coach, to be in a position to be invited to a highest and best, so that they can have a conversation and negotiate on price. So success for getting your offers out the door is measured in terms of how many people responded. And I've already told you, don't expect it to be more than 3 to 5%. If you do better than 5%, you're doing outstanding. If you do less than 3%, you're doing something wrong. So if it's 3 to 5%, let's just call it 4%. That means 4 out of 100, 4 out of 100. How many responses should I expect to get when I put 25 offers in the street? Please put that in the chat box. Yes. If it's 4 out of 100, it's 1 out of 25. If I put 25 offers out in the street and do it correctly, I should expect 1 invite to highest and best. 1, not 3, not 5, not 10. If I put 25 offers out in the street and I've done it correctly, and the ratio should be 4 out of 100, 25 should produce 1. So everybody's goal should be get 25 offers out in the street every single week without fail, and produce 1 opportunity for our Diamond coach to be able to negotiate a deal for us. Does everybody understand how that works? Now, what happens if I put 25 out and I get no response? And then 25 out the next week and no response. And 25 out the next week and no response. And 25 out the next week and no response. So by the end of the day, I put out 100 offers and got a 0 response. Should I automate that process? Should I start spending money to make that automated? I would think not. I would first sit down with my Diamond coach and say, what am I doing wrong? I would come to the Dealmaker Workshop, which is open to any member of Real Investors or anybody going through the apprentice program, and say, what am I doing wrong? I would come to the open office hours that I do on Wednesdays and say, hey, Sherman, I did this for a week. What am I doing wrong? And you know what the first thing I'm going to ask you to do is? Anybody want to guess what that is? Put it in the chat box. What's the first thing I'm going to ask you to do? If you tell me you put 25 offers in the street and got no response, what's the first thing I'm going to ask you to do? What do you think? Thank you, Alfonso. Show me what you're doing. You should be getting 1 out of 25. If you put 25 out and got none, now, if you put 25 out and you got none, I may very well say, well, you know what, go another week and then show me what you're doing. Because it just may be, you know, the market does ebb and flow. The market gets a little fluky. And it might just be a hyper competitive market where, you know, basically they're just taking the top offer sight unseen. And the market does get that way before it crashes for a short period of time. It's not, it usually doesn't go on very long before the market crashes. In fact, that's a telltale sign the market's going to crash when days on market is less than a day and everybody's getting bidding wars. That means this thing gone insane, it's about to crash, right? But in a normal market, 25% of the offers you put out in the street should result in one highest and best. So if you do 25 in 1 week and get nothing, 25 a second week and get nothing, which means you got 50 offers out, I'm probably going to say at that point, come to the open office hours on Wednesday and bring with you a sample of what, I don't need to see all 50, but show me one. And I'll look at it. And I probably look at it and go, oh, here's exactly what you're doing wrong, right? Should have used a handwritten font. Should have used a $1,000 earnest money deposit. Shouldn't use that language in the contract. Who told you to put that in the contract? Why is your offer so low? Oh, you screwed up the mail formula. I can tell. It's like a mechanic. You drive the, you call the mechanic on the phone and say, my car's doing this, 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 and this, and this, right? And they're like, okay, bring it in. You bring it in and like 3 seconds later, like, yeah, timing belt's off. Yeah, you need a new alternator. Yeah, and you're like, how do they know that? Because that's their job. Just like whatever your job is at work. You know when a new employee is messing it up. You know when a new contractor is messing it up. You know when somebody's not doing what they're supposed to be doing. You just know. Well, I've been doing this real estate thing for 20 plus years. I just know. So, but I want you to do it first. Don't come to me. I've had this happen before too. Come to the open office. Sherman, this thing's not working for me. And I'm just starting to believe that this thing's never going to work for me. And, you know, this is all just a bunch of malarkey. Okay. How many offers have you put out? 3. 3 in 1 day? 3 in a month? You've been hanging around here for 6 months. How many offers? 3 offers in 6 months. I can't help you with that. Nobody can help you with that. If it's 3% out of 100, you got to at least do, what's that, 30 to at least get 1. Nobody can help you if you're not doing the thing. Nobody. But if you are doing the thing, it won't take me long to diagnose what might be going wrong. Okay? So everybody got that? Give me a thumbs up. Give me a thumbs up. All right. So never automate a process that doesn't work. But by the same token, as soon as it's working, get it automated. Don't hesitate. Don't wait to automate. As soon as you're getting the result you want. So if the result you want is 1 best and final out of 25 offers, the second you start consistently getting 1 out of 25, which should only take you roughly about 2-3 weeks, automate it. Automate it and get that thing off your back and get in the business of managing your business, not working every nook and cranny of your business. Michael Gerber had a very famous book. What was it called? Golly, I can't think of the name of it, but it was a famous book. Trust me on that. And his whole mantra was work on your business, not in your business. Work on your business, not in your business. I'll think of the name of it. Maybe some of you guys remember that book. Michael Gerber, very famous book. In fact, I interviewed Michael Gerber about 20 years ago. It's a good interview. I'll have to find that and get it to you guys. All right, so never automate a process that doesn't work. Automation is not software. We want to test, measure, test. In other words, have metrics, checklists, and thank you, the E-Myth. Thank you, Carlos. Yeah, the book was called The E-Myth, and it was all about the entrepreneurship myth. In other words, a lot of people call themselves entrepreneurs, but they're really not. Similar to what Robert Kiyosaki talks about in his book, Rich Dad. You know, you don't want to be an employee, and you don't want to be self-employed. And a lot of people call themselves entrepreneurs, but they're not entrepreneurs at all. They're self-employed because they're doing everything. You know, they're like the Wizard of Oz, the man behind the curtain pulling all the levers and stuff, right? You want to be a business owner. Well, business owner means understanding the process well enough to hand it over to somebody else. I love what Amy said yesterday. Y'all love Amy. Did you guys like Amy yesterday? I love what she said. And as she was speaking, she reminded me of Richard Branson. And everybody knows who Richard Branson is, Sir Richard Branson, right? I had a chance to meet him a few years back. Wonderful guy, wonderful guy. And Sir Richard Branson, of course, started Virgin Records, Virgin Airlines, and he is a multi-billionaire knighted by the Queen of England, Sir Richard Branson, and just very flamboyant kind of guy. Bought an island down in the Caribbean, the British Virgin Islands, for like $75,000 off the first 100 grand he made. Today, that island is worth something like 150 million. It was worth a nickel. But Richard Branson, in his book, his biography, his first one, talked about he will not go into a business, any business, and they're in a lot of businesses. They're a very diversified company. But he says he will not go into a business until he answers one question. He will not go into a business until he answers one question. Everybody know what that one question is? He won't even think about doing that business until he can answer one question. All right? The one question is, who's going to run it? Now, they may be an employee of Virgin, or he may have to hire somebody and steal them away, but he will not even go into a new business venture until he first answers the question, who's going to run it? Because he doesn't run his businesses. He doesn't. If you actually, friend him on Facebook, you will see he spends 360 out of 365 days a year doing good works in the Caribbean with his money. And he was doing that a long time ago. So that mindset of working on the business, but not in the business, that mindset in Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and somebody said, no, it's in Cash Flow Quadrant. Well, you guys know Cash Flow Quadrant is actually the second half of Rich Dad. When Robert Kiyosaki originally wrote that book, it was 400 pages long. And his business partner said, nobody's going to read a 400-page book. Cut it in half. And so the first half is called Rich Dad, Poor Dad. The second half is called Cash Flow Quadrant. But Cash Flow Quadrant originally was the second half of Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Okay. But yes, in both Rich Dad, Poor Dad and Cash Flow Quadrant, it talks about being in the business owner and investor quadrants, not being in the employee, self-employed quadrants. Same basic concept. I'm sharing and imparting with you guys how to actually do that, which is as soon as you know a process is working, get it in the hands of somebody else. That, my friends, is called automation. Getting somebody else to do 90% of the work and you pay them 10% of the profits. That is the classical definition as Henry Ford. If Henry Ford was alive today and listening in on this session, he would be patting me on the back going, tell him, Sherman, tell him. That's automation, because that's exactly what he did to build the Ford Motor Company. And that's exactly what hundreds of thousands of entrepreneurs do every day who join the leagues of millionaires and multimillionaires. Many of you guys know Maryland, which is where we are, or many of us are, excuse me, I shouldn't, all of us. Maryland has more millionaires than any other state in the union. Well, what do those millionaires do? They're business owners. They're business owners. If you've never read the book, another good book is The Millionaire Next Door. The Millionaire Next Door. Awesome book. And what you will find is that the vast majority of millionaires around are not the guys driving the Rolex, driving Rolexes, wearing Rolexes and driving Mercedes, right, and on the back of yachts. The vast majority of millionaires are guys like me. Small business, 3-4 employees. Those 3 or 4 employees are doing everything, just about everything in that business. But as the owner of the business, I'm doing the strategic thinking and the marketing. That's how business works. You're like, but Sherman, you teach the classes. Yeah, because I promised that I was going to teach them. But I love teaching. I do this for free. Not with you. No, seriously though, in all seriousness, I enjoy teaching. Hopefully that comes across. I enjoy teaching, right? But the other parts of the business that I quite frankly don't enjoy that much. Like y'all want to continue to ask me questions about software. You want to continue to ask me questions about I can't get my software. No, I don't enjoy that. I don't enjoy talking about it. I don't enjoy dealing with it. I don't deal with it myself. So what do? I say go ask Lisa. Well, where do I find Lisa? Need help? AskLisa.com. It doesn't get any easier than that. By the way, you know how I came up with that domain name? When I started doing the coaching, teaching, mentoring, when I started running the club in the early days, people kept on coming up to me, asking me stuff I didn't want to deal with. You know what I'd say? Go ask Lisa. Go ask Lisa. Go ask Lisa. She's in the back room. Please go ask Lisa. I would always say, please go ask Lisa. But in my mind, I'm like, just go ask Lisa. So the stuff I don't want to deal with, I say, okay, go see Lisa. Go ask Lisa. Need help? Ask Lisa. And then Lisa has a team of people who do everything else. That's how you wind up living the life you want to live. If you have to do everything in your business, you may elevate the amount of money you make versus your day job, but you're still going to wind up being a slave to your business. I don't want to be anybody's slave to anything. Anything. Does that make sense to anybody other than me? All right. So, amen. We have to do it first to make sure it works, and then we automate it. I oftentimes talk about what I call the Gene Roddenberry School of Management. Anybody here know what I mean when I talk about Gene Roddenberry? Who was Gene Roddenberry? Put it in the chat box if you know who Gene Roddenberry was. Who was Gene Roddenberry? I know we got some sci-fi freaks in here. Yes, Gene Roddenberry was the creator of Star Trek. And if you are a Trekkie like I am, by the way, I remember the first time I watched Star Trek, we had just moved to DC from Okinawa, and we stayed with my grandparents, and my auntie, Risa, was watching an episode of Star Trek, the one with the big heads. And I was like 6 years old. I was scared to death. I'm like, what is she watching? Later on, watched that episode. I'm like, okay, I get it now. That was the one with Captain Pike in it, right? But if you ever watch enough episodes of Star Trek, the original Star Trek, Star Trek: The Next Generation, Deep Space Nine, on and on and on and on and on and on and on, you will notice that the central character of all of the Star Trek episodes is always the captain. It's always the captain. Whether it's Cisco, Janeway, Cisco, Pike, Picard, Kirk, right? It all revolves around the captain. And the captains are all very different personalities, very different ages, very different life experiences, but they all have the same thing in common. And that's why I talk about the Gene Roddenberry School of Management. Not the James T. Kirk School of Management. That would be a really wild school of management. Not the Picard. No, Gene Roddenberry, the creator of Star Trek. The central theme of all of his captains, who are all the central characters in all of those different episodes, all those different versions of Star Trek, is that they know exactly how everything on their ship functions. And yet, they never touch anything. You with me? Star Trek Next Generation. Picard turns to, what's his name? It says, make it so, number one. And number one takes care of everything, right? He's the one, like Picard doesn't even give the orders. Make it so, number one, right? Star Trek, the original. Kirk knows how everything works. But he has Sulu and Uhura and Mr. Spock, right? And Scotty, right? Now, Scotty knows how to make the engines do stuff that engines are not supposed to do. But if Scotty gets left behind, Scotty's in sick bay, Kirk knows at least how to make the engines work. I think in 1 or 2 episodes, he's actually crawling into engines, messing with the matter, antimatter, pop, pop, da, 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 right? He knows how his ship works. That's the same attitude you should have. You should know how stuff works, but never touch anything. Do I need to repeat myself? Know how it works, but don't touch a blasted thing. That is what I mean when I say the Gene Roddenberry School of Management. That can only happen when you do it first and do it well enough to assign it to somebody else. And if you're not willing, let me repeat myself, if you are not willing to at least learn this system or any other system well enough to be able to teach somebody else, get the hell out of real estate and go do something else, because you will never be successful in this business. In fact, you will never be successful as an entrepreneur at all. You've got to learn it well enough to very quickly put it in somebody else's hands, and then you manage what they do, and you let them do 90% of the work, and you pay them 10% of your profits. I don't care whether you're talking about real estate, Bitcoin, fur babies, beanie babies, whatever the heck. That's how you get rich in America. You think for a split second that Oprah Winfrey does everything related to the Oprah Winfrey Show? You think Oprah Winfrey does everything related to the OWN channel? Not hardly. Not hardly. But let somebody call in sick or she's got to fire somebody, can she pinch hit and fill in for the day? Absolutely. Richard Branson says I will never start a business, never invest in a business, and never buy a business until I first answer the question, who's going to run it? But if he has to fire somebody, will he step in for 30 days to get the ship right? Absolutely. If you're not willing to do that for your business, don't expect to have a business. In which case, please do me a favor. Never invest a nickel of your money in anybody else's training. Because if you're not willing to do that, nobody's training is going to work for you. Nobody's. But if you are willing to say, you know what, I need to learn this, tell the whole house, leave me alone for 21 days, because I really wasn't paying attention when Sherman was teaching. So let me just go through the recordings and do this again and get serious about it and treat it like a business, treat it like a 6-figure, soon to be 7-figure business. For crying out loud, all I'm asking you to do is learn what I'm teaching you well enough to very quickly teach somebody else and get it off your desk, out of your hands, and let them do their job and make you filthy, stinking rich. But you got to know it well enough to hand it over to somebody else and know for a fact that they're doing it the right way. Because if you don't, if you just hand it over to somebody else and you don't really know what they're supposed to be doing, A, you're going to confuse the hell out of them trying to train them. And B, they're going to steal you blind. Steal you blind. Well, I did so and so, so and so. God, I still can't understand why we're not getting the performance we're supposed to be getting. Because you don't understand what the heck they're doing. But they're more than happy to take a paycheck from you. Ask me how I know that. Gene Roddenberry School of Management. Think if you're a Trekkie, you know exactly what I'm talking about. If you're not a Trekkie, then pick something else. Michael Gerber's E-Myth. He's saying the same thing. Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Cash Flow Quadrant. He's saying the same thing. Richard Branson. By the way, his biography is called Losing My Virginity. That's the name of the book. I didn't name it, he did. He's saying the same thing. If you get where I'm coming from, give me a thumbs up. Give me a thumbs up. Yeah, I want you guys filthy, stinking rich. That's the only way to be. All right, so never automate a process, doesn't work. Automation is not software. Always think about Henry Ford when you hear me say that. Henry Ford never bought a single piece of software, and yet he went from below middle class. If you guys know what Henry Ford did before, Henry Ford barely got out of school. He was not a highly educated man. In fact, that was one of the things that people made fun of him, because he was just, he couldn't write his own letters without misspelling a bunch of stuff. But he died a billionaire, set up a family fortune, created one of the #1 foundations, Ford Foundation, and all the good work that Ford Foundation does with their multi-billion-dollar endowment. One man changed the world through automation, and never bought a lick of software. Never had a laptop computer. Never had a desktop computer. Never had a computer of any kind. Out of best mind, he didn't even have an abacus. But he changed the world through the assembly line. What was the assembly line? Taking people, giving them specific jobs, paying them initially minimum wage, and selling a product where Henry Ford could keep 90% of the profit while somebody else did 90% of the work. And every great fortune since his has been made kind of the same way. McDonald's. Ray Kroc became a multi-billionaire off McDonald's. What's McDonald's? Applying the same concept of automation to hamburgers. But how in the world do they make money? How in the world can they freaking make money off a $1 hamburger? By selling a whole boatload of them and letting the franchise owners keep 90% of the profit while paying 10%. In other words, they go out and they hire high school kids at minimum wage. Have you ever tried to hire a high school kid? They got 20, 30 of them in there. Oh my God, I'd want to pull my hair out. Automation, systems, having standard operating procedures, SOPs, where anybody off the street, and trust me, I worked at McDonald's. That was my first job. I worked there for 3 months before I quit. I came in, my mother told me I had to have a resignation letter. I came in the store in my green polyester lime suit and had my letter in my hand, and the manager goes, I know exactly what that is. You're gonna give me my 2 weeks. And I did. And then went to work downstairs at the piano store, made twice as much money with the not going home smelling like a hamburger every night, quarter pounder every night. But here's my point. They're hiring 20 to 30 high school kids that this is their first job. Yes, the McDonald's at Columbia Mall, we had green line polyester suits, polyester uniforms when in 1976. I worked there from 76 to well, I worked there in 76. I only worked there for like 3 months. But here's my point. McDonald's is a multi-billion-dollar corporation based on hiring labor that the vast majority of them, that's their first job making minimum wage. It's not software. Yeah, the cash register's got some, but that's not it. It's the automation of the tasks at hand using people, cheaper labor than you doing it yourself. That is the secret to getting rich in America, pure and simple. If you have a job today and you're going to a job, understand this, unless it's the government, which is a whole different thing, but government contract's still true. You're doing 90% of the work so that the owners of that company can keep 90% of the profits. I hope you understand that. I was a government contractor. You know what the standard rule of thumb is for a government contractor when you hire an employee? You have to be able to bill 3 to 4 times what you're paying them in their salary. Now that's not quite 90-10, but understand this, for every dollar you're charging, they're charging the client 4 or 5. By the time you got overhead and everything else, they're collecting $5 and paying you 1. You will never get rich as anybody's employee of anything. And for the most part, most people, the reason why they never succeed in the business ventures or what they want to do is they mentally can't get past the fact that at some point you're going to learn something well enough to hand it over to somebody else and pay them 10% of your profits, and they're going to do 90% of the work. Literally had people say to me yesterday when they uploaded their homework, and I get it, because at one point I thought this way. Sherman, I never thought about hiring a virtual assistant because I thought I would be exploiting somebody. Like, you think you're exploiting somebody because you're paying them $10 an hour? You guys understand, in the Philippines, $10 an hour, and by the way, they're not getting the Filipino employees are not getting $10 an hour. The company, Riva's getting something off the top. Trust me on that. But the employees, whether they're getting $5 an hour, $6 an hour, or $3 an hour, they're still making more money than the people who live in the Philippines who have to go hunt for food every night at the trash dump. And that's not me making a slight or an insult, but if you know anything about the Philippines, it is a country with people who have great pride, who love America, who speak English, but the vast majority of the population is dirt poor. And but for virtual assistant companies coming in, like, they don't have natural resources like Africa. They can't be stripping the land like Africa. That's a whole nother, by the way, that's a whole nother story for a whole nother day. But I understand this. They don't have an abundance of really, really, really dirt cheap manual labor like China. China leads the world in manufacturing. Why? Because they're putting people on assembly lines saying, do this, do this, do this. They don't have to speak anything other than like what the boss tells them to do. But in the Philippines, you have English-speaking people, great work ethic, many of whom have multiple master's degrees, and $5, $6, $7, $8, $9 an hour is a king's ransom. And you're busy trying to find somebody who at least show up for work in DC for $15 an hour. Dude, I'm paying you $15 an hour. Can you at least show up for work on time? Oh man, 15 doesn't go that far. Well, maybe 15 doesn't go that far in DC, but it goes a long, long way. In fact, $10 goes a long, long way in the Philippines. You need to get it in your head. You're building a business. This is not a hobby. This is not a game. You're building a business. Build the foundation correctly, and everything else will take care of itself. Skip a couple of steps. Do this half-baked. Skip over the fact that, you're going to have to teach somebody else how to do it, and you'll be forever chasing your tail. Everybody got that? Can I move on? All right, let's keep going. So, let's go through and let's talk about our metrics, our cheat sheets, our checklists. Everybody should have gotten week 3 book yesterday. If you did not, check your spam filter. And if you still don't find it, just come along with me, take some notes, and you can go back through and watch the recordings tomorrow when you find it printed out, okay? But as I promised you yesterday, we're gonna go through each of the major checklist cheat sheets, and I'm gonna show you how to use them. So here we go. Step 1, this is a total recap, a sort of total, here's how you do it step by step. So if you ever wind up coming back to this 21-day program and you've gone through all the days and you're like, Sherman, I just need a quick review. What's the one place I need to go if I need a quick review, but I've gone through everything? It's day 18. This is your step-by-step guide to doing the business and putting it on autopilot. Got it? Give me a thumbs up if you understand where I'm coming from. Give me a thumbs up. All right. So step 1, day 18, step 1. We need to lay out who we need. So at this point in time, do we have a fairly good idea of who or what skills we need to make this 21-day program work? Do we have a fairly good idea? If you have a good idea, say, yep, got a good idea. I don't mean you know everything, but I mean you at least know enough, and more importantly, or most importantly, you know where to go if you got a gap. Right? So we know that we're going to need a mentor coach. We know we're going to need somebody to negotiate, because real estate's all about deal making. The currency of real estate is what? Put it in the chat box. The currency of real estate is deals. So we need a deal maker on the team. And if it's not us, we need somebody who can do it. Got it? And again, as I say over and over again, think of yourselves like you're owning a major league sports team. You're not the quarterback. You're not Tom Brady. You're not Lamar Jackson. But you better have somebody on the field if you're going to win football games. Does that make sense to everybody? Yep. Give me a thumbs up if that makes sense to you. I don't expect you on the field, Alfonso. I don't expect you on the field, Karina or Donovan, Kenneth or Carlo. I don't expect you on the field. But you better have somebody on the field at game time. Got it? I don't expect you to be your negotiator. And if that's not your forte, that's not your skill set, fine. Don't worry about it. But you need somebody who is. Make sense? Okay. We need somebody who's going to provide proof of funds. We need a contractor. We need a title company, buyer, we need to build buyer's list, we need a renter, bird dog, assistant, other. And again, depending upon where you are in your progression as an investor, depending upon what you're looking at, you may answer that question other in a variety of different ways. Everybody got that? And we spent time over a week ago laying this out, right? So this is not new information to anybody. What I'm going over tonight, there's nothing new in here. I'm just showing you how to put the pieces together. Step 1, figure out what you need. Got it? Give me a thumbs up if you got it. All right. Step 2, we need to engage a diamond coach. We need to engage an investor agent. If we're not going to work with somebody inside of Real Investors, we need to find somebody who's got similar skill sets. A CP RIA. Somebody who's got that designation or at least understands what needs to be done. Does everybody understand that? And everybody understands that we cannot get a buyer's agent to establish a fiduciary relationship with us unless we engage them with a buyer-broker agreement. Again, nothing new under the sun. You guys have heard me say this over and over and over again over the past several days. Nothing new. Step 2, once you know what you need, go get that first strategic hire. That first strategic hire is your buyer's agent. Preferably somebody who has negotiating skills, so you don't have to get 2 people. Preferably somebody who is an investor themselves, so they understand what we're doing. Preferably somebody who works in a real estate firm that is friendly to investors, particularly friendly to wholesalers. So you don't get halfway down the road and the broker tells them to drop you as a client. Everybody got that? And what is the only way we can engage a buyer broker? Please type it in the chat box. And it doesn't matter where our buyer broker comes from. It doesn't matter which brokerage firm they work for. What must we have in place? Exactly, a buyer broker agreement, an exclusive buyer broker agreement. You don't want to sign that exclusive buyer broker agreement? Fine, but you will not have a fiduciary relationship. And don't be surprised if they don't do anything for you, or they start doing something for you and they drop you. Okay? All right, so step 2 engage them using a buyer-broker agreement that establishes the fiduciary relationship and that forces them to sit down with you and go on to the next step. Right, I'm sorry, forces them to sit down with you and start working with you. All right, next step. Use the Real Investors mobile MLS, download it, put it on your mobile device, put it on the one that's going to be in your pocket when you're out in the field, because it does you no good whatsoever sitting on your desktop when you're out in the field. I was literally out in the field today shooting some video to show you guys tomorrow. I have a wonderful treat for you tomorrow. I was in the field all day today. I went out with the investors of the year, and we went to a couple of different properties with their contractor and did some cost estimating, and we're talking about exit strategies. And at one point in time, the investor of the year turns to me and says, well, what do you think this property will rent for? And I'm like, I have no idea. I've never been in this neighborhood before. I have no idea what this property rent for. But you have the answer on your phone. Pull it up. And he pulled it up on his phone. He goes, where do I find it? I said, you see the very top? One tab says houses for sale. One tab, properties for sale. One tab says properties for rent. Click the tab. And instantaneously up pops 35 houses within a quarter-mile radius that had recently rented. I'm like, how easy could it possibly be? He goes, oh, that's what that's for. I'm like, yeah, that's what that's for. Okay. So download that app, put it on your mobile device, not your desktop. You can have it on a desktop, nothing wrong with it, but put it on a mobile device. So when you're in the field and you're asking yourself these questions or asking somebody else's question, gee, what a house in this neighborhood sell for? Gee, what a house in this neighborhood rent for? You can instantly give yourself the answer. All right. Somebody says, do we send the buyer broker agreement to Lisa? And if we already have one in place, Real Investors, should we need it? If you already have one in place at Real Investors, you probably don't need a second one. But remember this, when you sign the buyer broker agreement with the broker can assign you to any agent that you guys agree to. But if you sign a buyer broker agreement with an agent, you will have to sign another one if you switch agents, either inside or outside the firm. Okay, so that's how that works. And again, I gave you guys the phone numbers. I'll go backtrack a little bit. You can email it to broker@realinvestors.com, or you can fax it to that fax number that's on the screen right now. Do you guys see the phone number and the email and the fax number on the screen? You guys seeing that? Give me a thumbs up. Okay, that's where you send it. Okay, right there. All right, next, as I was saying, download that mobile MLS access. Download it. Have it on your mobile device. Interesting enough, I had said to this investor of the year, download it, and they did. And I said, you got that on your phone? He says, well, I've been using this other app, and it's working better for me. I said, okay, cool. Tell me what it is. Tell me what it was. Yeah, okay, I got it. I said, okay, now on that other app, pull up houses for rent. He's like, it's not on there. I said, then you better have both. You're welcome to use whatever tools you want, but if you don't use the tools I recommend, don't be surprised if you get caught short. Okay, I'm giving you specific tools for a reason. I've tried most of them. Not all of them. I won't dare say all of them. I've tried most of them. If there were other better tools to use, I'd tell you about them. But these are the ones I know work, and they work flawlessly. If you want to add some other things to the list, by all means, you will not hurt my feelings. All right. Next, do your mock offers. Step 4. Go through the videos, watch what we have already posted, upload your samples, your examples, so I can critique them and coach you and mentor you, but work on those mock offers. If you have not submitted them, oh my God, what are you waiting for? We've been doing mock offers now for almost a week. Yes? If you haven't submitted one, what the heck are you waiting for? Stop procrastinating. The reason why we're doing mock offers is so that there's no harm, no foul. There's nothing to lose. You're not submitting into the real world, but you got to get to the point where you do understand how to write those things up, because even if you do leap over into hiring a virtual assistant like we talked about yesterday, you got to be able to explain it to them. You want to have them done a certain way. Didn't Jesse say that 3 or 4 days ago? I want it done my way. You want to have it done your way. Well, if you don't know what you're doing, how can you possibly have it done your way? So use the fact that I'm here to mentor you live, coach you live, and upload the stupid contracts so I can mentor you. Don't make me leap through the screen. Everybody see where I'm coming from? Give me a thumbs up. Y'all see where I'm coming from? Okay? There's no harm, there's no foul when we're doing mock contracts. It's a great way to practice where there's no downside, there's only upside. Okay? And let's get to the point that you understand what you're doing so you can go ahead and engage that agent and get those offers out the door. Okay? So that's step number 4. All right? Step number 5, meet with your diamond coach. Those of you who have submitted your buyer broker agreements, I will be meeting with you Wednesday at 5 o'clock. I'm going to ask you some questions, not many, but I want to kind of get a feel for what you're doing. Those of you who have decided to sign up for the apprentice program, I'm probably going to tell you hold off on getting your own coach, because if you're going to be in the apprentice program, you're going to be working in a team anyway. And I'll assign you to a team and then get you linked up, hooked up, not only with the team, but also get hooked up with the team's diamond coach. And then you'll be in a small group, 4 to 5 person group, sharing responsibilities and learning together. Now, those of you who are ready to pull the trigger and get your own, and you decided to bypass the apprentice program, that's fine. I'll have a conversation with you and we'll get you hooked up and get you going, okay? When you automate, does this person also write the contract? Yes, as we discussed yesterday, one of the things that your virtual assistant can do is write up your contracts for you, but you have to tell them what you want. You have to know your stuff well enough to delegate it to somebody else. Don't just hand them a blank 11-page contract and 1-page addendum and say, fill it out. They go, okay, fill it out how? I don't know. I mean, I suppose you could probably give them access to the 21-day course and say, do what Sherman says. I mean, that's the ultimate lazy person's way to do it. But you still ought to have some idea as to what's going on inside your business. You know, you could do it that way. I'll give it to you. You could do it that way, but you want to have some idea. Now, all right, so now we're ready to actually engage our diamond member coach, right? We're now at the point where we sent in our buyer broker agreement. We're now at the point that we've done some mock contracts and allowed Sherman to really sort of coach and mentor. Now we're ready to sit down with that person, and it could be face-to-face, could be over the phone, could be via Zoom. Like everybody's doing Zoom now, right? Like pandemic changed the whole world. Now it's all Zoom, right? Fill out, have a conversation and fill out the checklist and say, okay, who's doing what? And understand this, if it's in your column, if it's in the investor column, that doesn't necessarily mean that you are doing it. Maybe what that means is that this is something that you're going to wind up turning over to your virtual assistant. And one of the things that they're going to do is they're going to be responsible for getting 30 offers out the door every week. Because if you're using a virtual assistant, maybe they can do it better, faster than you can. Maybe you decide you're going to do 6 days a week. You know they do work 6, 7 days a week. Maybe you can get them doing 6 days a week. So rather than doing 5 offers a day for five days, maybe doing 5 offers a day for 6 days and get 30 out. And you dramatically increase your chances of getting the highest and best. Now instead of getting 4 a month, you might be getting 5, 6 a month. Anybody like that idea of actually picking up some more business because you got somebody who else is doing the work and they're getting more offers out the door? Okay, but this is the conversation you have with your diamond coach to establish who's doing what, and understanding anything that you check your name to, you're probably going to wind up delegating it to your virtual assistant. Does that make sense to everybody? Everybody got that? Give me a thumbs up if that makes sense to you. Give me a thumbs up. All right. Next step, step 6, get the real offers out the door. Playtime is over. We got to get them real offers out the door. I generally recommend that for your first 100, your first month's worth, handwrite them. Nothing will get you up to speed faster. Nothing will get you where you need to be faster than you handwriting your own offers. And again, you're not handwriting contracts. Let me say it again. You're not handwriting. You're filling in the freaking blank on 4 out of 11 pages. You're filling in the blanks, for crying out loud, folks. You can do that 100 times because chances are while you're doing it, you're actually reading the contract. You're beginning to understand what it actually says. If you won't do 100, if just flat out, Sherman, I'm folding my arms, I'm not doing it. Okay, do the first week's worth. Do a week, do 25, okay? That's our compromise. I want you to do 100. I think it's for your own good. Spoonful of sugar makes the medicine go down. But if you're like, I don't want the sugar, just give me the medicine, do a week, okay? I have found that to get 5 offers a week, I had to be giving my coach at least 10 MLS listings a day. Okay, that sounds fine. But the main thing is getting them out the door. And the main thing is for you is learning it well enough so you can do what? Are you going to do this for the rest of your life? No. What are you going to do? You're going to learn it well enough to do what? Please type it in the chat box. You're going to learn it well enough to do what? You're going to learn it well enough to automate it. And automate it means what? Hand it over to somebody else, like your virtual assistant. Okay? Step 7. What's the sole purpose of getting these offers out the door? What is the sole purpose of getting these offers out the door? What is the number one goal that we have in mind when we are getting 5 offers out the door every day? That's right. Start a conversation, highest and best. And when do we go visit the properties? When do we go visit the properties? At what? Right. We go visit the properties when our diamond coach calls us up or emails us or texts us and says, hey, congratulations, you're highest and best on this deal. I got you 72 hours to come back with a better price. That's when you go visit the property. That's when you go talk to your contract, say, meet me at 123 Maple. And that's when you print this sheet out. This is the one I sent out today in the revision. And you take this sheet with you and go have a conversation with your contractor using this as your checklist, cheat sheet, and guide. And the one thing, I only changed one thing on this form. What's the one thing I changed on this form from the one that was in your book? What's the one thing I changed? What's the one thing I changed? The one thing. Exactly, the grading system for the neighborhoods, because the one I gave you before was sort of a lot of revisions and it was just a little jinky. It was a little clunky. So I cleaned it up. So you notice, let me see if I can find something. I'm gonna go over here real quick. Grab that. Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain. I changed this up here. This is what I changed. That's what's different from the other version. I changed up the neighborhood scale. So now it says A, McMansion, B, executive, like in executive houses, C, working as in like working neighborhood, D, some abandoned, like some abandoned houses, E, lots of abandoned, like 50-50, and then F, war zone. So it's more consistent with the videos we watched the other day. The sheet's more consistent with what I told you guys. Okay, that's why I did it. I cleaned it up a little bit. All right, so you take the sheet with you when you go meet with the contractor, and that's your guide to make sure that the contractor is talking about what you're talking about, right? Such as, you know, how much do we need to spend for the grounds, the driveway, the foundation of the house, the roofing of the house, the siding of the house, the interior, the windows, the carpeting. Like, this is your guide to make sure that you don't miss anything. Your contractor has the knowledge as to what this stuff is going to cost, but you want to make sure that your contractor is not missing anything, right? As you walk through the house together, and you're using that opportunity as a learning experience to learn what it costs to rehab a house. And then you can have a place to take notes. And of course, because the sheet is blank on the backside, there's plenty of places to take notes on the backside. I strongly recommend that you get yourself a clipboard or one of those, you know, clip cases that's like a clipboard up top, but you can open it up and put stuff on the inside. And you go through and have yourself some extra pens and clipboards so you got a surface to write on as you're walking the property with the contractor. If you decide that for security reasons or other reasons you do not want to meet with a contractor, especially one that you've never met before for the first time, then make sure you're hiring a contractor that has an iPhone or a Droid and do FaceTime and still have this sheet out when you're walking the house with them virtually using FaceTime. So again, they don't miss anything. Have them point the camera in the direction of the foundation, the roof, the siding, the windows, the carpet, et cetera, et cetera. We were out shooting video today with a contractor, which I will share with you tomorrow. That will be tomorrow's class. And I'll give you a chance to see, look over my shoulder and see virtually how I go out in the field with a contractor. Please have this sheet with you when we do that together tomorrow. Everybody got that? Give me a thumbs up if you got what I'm saying. Okay. Do I have any thoughts on getting a second opinion when hiring a contractor? Hire the right contractor the first time, then you don't need a second one. Understand this. When your diamond member, diamond coach calls you up and says, congratulations, you're highest and best, and you got 72 hours, that means you got 72 hours. 72 hours. You tell me you're gonna go out there twice with 2 contractors and pick, no, you got 72 hours. And sometimes you don't even have that. Sometimes you got 24. pick the right contractor up front to go out and do this exercise. And if you later on figure out that your contractor can't contract, then run your professional sports team, all right? By the way, Gene Roddenberry made this easy. If somebody was incompetent in their job in Star Trek, they always had the yellow. What did it mean when you had the yellow uniform, folks? What did it mean when you had the yellow uniform in Star Trek? That's right, you were going to die in that episode, and you were probably incompetent, and you needed to be taken off anyway, right? Now, in all seriousness, as I've said before, think of your team like the owner of a professional. If you have a kicker who can't kick, we talked about this yesterday. If you got a quarterback who's scoring touchdowns, but the kicker can't get the extra point, and you're consistently losing football games by 2 points because you don't get the extra point, fire the kicker. You got a contractor who can't meet with you. You got a contractor who gives you price estimates that are too high. Fire the contractor. But I've never seen a professional sports franchise, rare, I shouldn't say never, sends out 2 kickers in one game. Well, so-and-so missed the extra point 3 times. Now they're sending up the backup kicker. No, no. You at least get through the game before you fire, at least get through the month before you fire him. Put yourself in a position that your diamond coach can call you 4 times during the month and say, congratulations, you're highest and best, and take that contractor with you. And if that contractor later on proves incompetent, okay, bring in another contractor. But you're not going to have time to bring in 2 and 3 contractors to give you cost estimates. And quite frankly, your contractor is going to get tired of meeting you with properties if they're coming up with the same cost estimate over and over and over again. That's another reason to focus on 1 or 2 neighborhoods, okay? Is it proper to tell a contractor that you no longer want their services? Oh my God. Is it proper for an NFL franchise owner to tell the kicker you're gone? Is it proper for the head coach of the Washington football team to tell the quarterback when he acts a fool, your services are no longer needed? Is this a hobby or are you running a business? You know the answer to the question before you typed it. Come on, please. You're just playing games with me now. You know the answer. It's your team. It's your franchise. You want to be perennially in the doghouse in the cellar? Well, you know what? If you are NFL and you're sharing the TV revenue, you probably can be a last place team and still make money. But for the most part, have more pride than that. Have more pride than that, Washington, please. Uh-oh, don't get myself in trouble. Ravens. Point being, it's your team. It's your business. Star Trek analogy, Gene Roddenberry, it's your ship. Do you want nincompoops and idiots on your ship that are constantly going to get you in danger of being killed? Our 5-year mission, by the way, they stopped saying 5-year after a while. This is our continuing mission, seek out new life forms, go where no man has ever gone before. You want to go where no man or woman has gone before with a bunch of idiots? The blithering idiot, it's like pickup football, right? Okay, who do you want for your crew, Kirk? I don't know, the guys in the corner drooling all over themselves. You know the answer to these questions before you ask them. Now you guys right now, you just trying to make fun, right? Stop it. All right, so step 7, when your diamond member coach calls you up and says, congratulations, you're highest and best. I've got you 72 hours, go look at the property. You grab your contractor and you go out and look at the property. And that's when you revise your cost estimate. And as I said before, don't just look at the property, look at the neighborhood. Drive around, go around, see what else is happening. Don't just go to the property and then come back home. You really will have missed the lesson if that's all you do. If the weather permits and the conditions are right, park the car and walk the block. If you're not comfortable doing that, don't do it. But at least drive a 1 block, 2 block, 3 block, 4 block radius and see what's happening in and around that neighborhood. Because again, as I said before, whether you're buying a house to buy, fix, and flip, or buy, fix, and resell, whether you're buying a house to rent it, or whether you're putting a property under contract to wholesale it, ultimately, a tenant or a homeowner is going to show up. Either a tenant or a homeowner is going to show up. And they pick the neighborhood first and the property second. 80% of the value of any single family house is determined by the neighborhood in which it resides. You've got to know something about the neighborhood. You've got to get a feel for the neighborhood. You have to know the neighborhood. The good news is, after you've done it a couple of times, neighborhoods don't change all that much. The reason why I was able to buy houses from a beach chair several thousand miles away in the Caribbean is because I knew where Capitol Heights began and Seat Pleasant ended. And I knew that this property on this side of the road in this location is worth X. And if it's on the other side, it's worth less than X. You learn that by driving these neighborhoods, but that doesn't change. Capitol Heights has not changed dramatically in the 20 years I've been investing. There are some big changes happening, you know, some major townhouse projects and some really new, but for the most part, Capitol Heights is the same. Like Capitol Heights Boulevard, Pacific Avenue, whatchamacallit Street, I can't think of the name of it. Like these streets don't change all that much in 20, 30 years. Once you know them, you know them. So then you move to the next neighborhood, then the next neighborhood, then the next neighborhood. Pretty soon you know a certain part of town like the back of your hand. It is amazing how quickly that can happen. And that is one of the things, quite frankly, you do not delegate to your virtual assistant. And quite frankly, that's one of the things that your virtual assistant is never really going to know if you're picking up a virtual assistant in the Philippines. You're going to have to consistently say to them, you know, okay, well, that's on that side of Central Avenue. I know it says Capitol Heights. I know it's the same, but it's on that side of Central, and everything on that side of Central Avenue really is 10% lower. Oh, it's on that side of Southern Avenue. Well, that side of Southern Avenue is Washington, D.C. I know it said it's Capitol Heights, but it's really not. It's in D.C. Somebody put it in the MLS incorrectly. And everything on that side of Southern Avenue is 2 times as much, just because it's D.C. You will know that within like weeks if you actually get out there, go visit the contractor, go visit the property, and drive around the neighborhood and begin to see the little subtle differences of where does Berwyn Heights begin and Hyattsville end. When Southern Avenue jogs, am I still DC or am I now in Prince George's County? Because everything on the Prince George's County side is half as much, just because it's not DC. If that makes sense, if that's making sense to people, give me a thumbs up, please. So you learn that by getting out there and driving and take that ADC map. I'm surprised, I'm shocked. Alfonso, how could you let me not put that in there? Make sure you got that ADC. Oh, nope, I don't want that. Sorry. Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain. We're having fun tonight. Good. All right. Have your, and I say ADC because that's what it was called, but Rand McNally, in other words, have your ADC, have your street guide with you, and make sure you're taking notes, giving yourself notes, okay? All right, let me make a change real quick because I do not want that handwritten. I want that looking like that. All right, have it with you when you go out to look at these houses, look at these neighborhoods, okay? If that makes sense to you, give me a thumbs up, please. Give me a thumbs up, okay? All right, next step. Once you go out, revise your offer, right? If you're either going to revise it up or revise it down. It's not going to stay the same. Hopefully, you'll revise your Mayo number higher. Remember, Mayo is just for that initial offer, okay? If you get a property under contract, or it looks like you're going to get a property under contract, and you have a buyer's list, if you've been talking to the buyer's list, and you know you got a couple buyers who are interested in that part of town, call them up. Hey, it looks like I'm getting another property over here and, Osef Street over in Land of Seabrook. You said you were interested, what are you willing to spend? Oh, okay. And they give you a number where you can book a $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 wholesale fee and you can still raise your price. Raise the price. Raise the price. Mayo is for your initial offer. Mayo has no bearing when you're ready to negotiate highest and best. That's based on revised contractor estimate, which may be 50. Like you use 50 to start. Contractor may say you could get all this done for 25. You understand? You can raise if the contract says 25, not 50. You can raise your offer by $25,000. Got it? Again, It's not our goal to buy property sight unseen. You can do that. We're going to talk about that tomorrow. Our goal is, just, especially when we first get started, we just want to talk to the people who are serious about lowering the price. This whole thing we've been talking about, hacking the matrix, getting offers out the door, practicing on the mock offers. All we're trying to do is focus our attention on the 2 or 3 deals every month that can get done. But we're still going to go visit the property. And if we're not going to visit the property, we're going to virtually visit it with the contractor, and we're going to get to know those neighborhoods. We can't skip over that step. We got to know what our ship can do, even if we're not the ones pushing the buttons. Does that make sense to everybody? Give me a thumbs up if that makes sense to you. Okay. All right. So we have an offer log. You and or your virtual assistant will be filling out that offer log. Remember what I said, what I gave you is a model, most basic information. And somebody was asking me yesterday, well, what do we do for the status? If you now have gotten to highest and best, you change the status to highest and best, and it's off the piece of paper, but notes, sorry, right? So your MLS number, make sure you put in the MLS number. That is the number your agent will use. You know, I should probably not do this handwritten because you're not going to do it if you're using a spreadsheet, it's not going to be handwritten. If you're using a spreadsheet, it's actually going to be typed into the spreadsheet. So it's not going to be a handwritten file. So I shouldn't use a handwritten file to demonstrate. Okay. So most important thing, make sure that you give your diamond coach MLS numbers, because that's what they're going to use to look the property up. They're not going to use the address. You may use the address, but they're not going to use the address. They're going to use the MLS number. Then make sure you have the address, the city, the zip, what was your initial offer, what was the date of the offer, and then whatever status it is. If you don't if you sent offers out and you haven't heard anything, then the status is left blank. The notes are left blank. But if you get to the highest and best, say status is highest and best. If you have it under contract, yip, high A, put it under contract. If you didn't get the deal, but you somehow had a communication to find out what you didn't get the deal, put it in the notes. Offer was too low by 10 grand. That tells you something. Okay? They tell you, where can I find another 10 grand to cut other than my wholesale fee so I can make a higher offer? Okay? But these are notes that you leave to yourself to help you get better at what you're doing. Remember this, if you're not measuring what you're doing, you have no chance of improving. It's a business, and businesses have metrics. How many offers did you get out the door? How many responses did you get? You need to be measuring that. Best way to measure it is keep some kind of a log of what's going on. Does everybody understand that? Does that make sense to people? By the way, remember how Josh Cohen said Sherman's going to tell you some stuff that may not make sense at the time? This will make more sense to you when you're actually running the business. If it's not quite clicking now and you're still 3 weeks from now, 4 weeks from now, 6 weeks from now, when you're actually putting offers out in the street, you're like, where are we? Where are we with this? Oh yeah, the log sheet. Now it's making sense and doing follow-up and tracking what's going on. All right, step 9. Sooner or later, you're going to have a ratified contract. Sooner or later, you will have, if you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, and your diamond coach is doing what they're supposed to be doing, and your contractor is doing what they're supposed to be doing, sooner rather than later, you are going to have a ratified contract. Once you have a ratified contract, open title. In other words, go to the title company, give them a complete copy of the contract, pay them whatever, couple $100 fee, it's a couple $100, and open title. And then post that deal far and wide. At a minimum, I'd post it on Real Offers. If you've never been to Real Offers, go to realoffers.com. You will see this. Real Offers, where the deals find you. Register on Real Offers. Why? Because every time somebody posts a deal, you get a notice. That's what I mean by the deals find you. Great tool for posting offers. You can also use Craigslist, although that's less and less a factor. You can also use Facebook groups. You can also use meetup groups. And if you did what I strongly encourage you to do 2 weeks ago, God, who knew? 2 weeks ago, didn't I tell you go join the Facebook groups, the meetup groups for real estate investors? All the ones in your region. Post the deals on those websites. Some moderators, some organizers may not like that and they may delete your post. Don't worry about it. But you'll get it in enough places that people will respond. When they respond, capture their information. That's how you start the process of building a buyer's list. And then once you capture their information, have conversations with them to see what it is that they're interested and where they're interested. That starts the process of you looking for specific deals for specific buyers, otherwise known as AKA reverse wholesaling. That's all reverse wholesaling is. No reason to give so-and-so, I won't even mention his name, $2,000 for his special course, Insider Strategies to Reverse Wholesaling. I just told you what reverse wholesaling is. You don't need to give him a nickel, okay? He'll be mad at me, but you'll be happy that I just saved you 2 G's, because he spends more time, energy, and money talking about all the different strategies and all the different stuff of reverse wholesaling, and then after you give him $2,000 non-refundable, he tells you what it is. You're like, whoa, Sherman told me about that in the 21-day course for a fraction of the price. Yeah. Got it? So you get it under contract, get a ratified contract, you open title, that's the first step, and then you post that deal everywhere. And people will start coming at you, especially if it's a good deal, saying, okay, let's talk. Now, what if you post it everywhere and nobody responds? And a day goes by, and 2 days goes by, and 3 days goes by, and 4 days goes by, and now you're a week into it, and you've talked to people about the deal, and nobody wants it. What do you do? What do you do? Put in the chat box. Exactly. You call up your hard money lender, and you ask them to give you a future dated rejection letter. Future dated. Why should it be future dated? Why should the date be out in the future? Why should it be out in the future? Because somebody might come along and still buy it from you. Give yourself more time. Exactly. Give yourself more time. If you wrote the contract properly, what's the last possible second that you have to present that letter saying that the deal's rejected? What's the last possible second? And we talked about this. This is a bit of a trick question. There you go. Actually, Kanedi and Malika, it's 11:59:58. Because at 11:59:59, but you better make sure that the buyer has it in, the seller has it in their hands, excuse me, at 11:59:58. Otherwise, you can default a contract at 11:59:59, right? You guys are doing well. I mean, you guys are really paying attention. That really makes me proud, right? Of closing day, Diana, unfortunately means nothing. What is the specific time on closing day? What's the specific time? We talked about this on several different occasions, and everybody else has been posting it. It's 11:59:59 p.m. If you're using a board or realtor contract and using the one that we've been talking about, it says in the contract that the day that stuff is due is 11:59:59 p.m. So therefore, if your closing date is 30 days after ratification, and you better make sure you're in agreement on what 30 days after ratification is. Okay, not 31 days. Well, I thought I had to the end of the month. No, it said 30 days after ratification, you ratified the contract on January 1st. Your closing date is January 30th, not January 31st. Understand? Make sure you understand what you're agreeing to. Therefore, you have up until 11:59:59 on the in this example, on the 30th of January. If you have not done what you're supposed to do by 11:59:59, you're in default at 11:59:59. Now, if you send in the rejection letter and they get it and it's stamped 11:59:58, and you didn't change any of the terms, conditions of the contract other than what we talked about, you're home free. Okay? So that's why I say, if you're having trouble wholesaling the deal, get that hard money lender to give you a rejection letter, but give yourself a little more time to see if you can make a deal with somebody. Okay? And if you can't make a deal and you're at your wits' end, you're totally exhausted, then exercise your option. Trust me, we have literally seen deals. Jesse will tell you this. I don't know if Jesse is here or not. I'm sure he is. We have seen deals, multiple deals, where it was highly competitive getting the property under contract, and then one thing or another became a problem, And we ultimately saw folks go back to the seller with a rejection letter, and the seller's like, okay, well, is there any way we can work this out? But wait a minute, 30 days ago, you said you had other offers. Now you're like, we're sending you a rejection letter and you want to drop your price some more? Sure. And I know that sounds crazy, but we have seen it time and time again. When somebody feels like we're going to do a deal together and you come back in with a rejection letter, sometimes they're like, well, you know what, let's see if we can work it out. Let's just see if we can work it out. Okay. In which case, okay, well, will you drop the price another 20, 30,000? Yeah. Then you modify the contract to give you another 30 days, still with that weasel clause in it. Don't let that weasel clause go. And if that weasel clause goes, you better put another one in there and give yourself another 30 days at a $20,000 lower sales price, which could do the trick. I know some of you guys are thinking that never happens. I've seen it too many times. Jesse's seen it too many times. Stephanie, like those of us who are doing this thing, we've seen it too many times to say it can't happen. Are we saying it will happen? No, but it can happen. And it has happened. Okay. All right. Step number 10. Of the people who respond, once you post it, Craigslist, Real Offers, a meetup, Facebook, talk to the folks in the club, talk to folks outside the club, anywhere and everywhere you think you could find an investor, tell them you got the deal, including those who are out of state. You never know. Screen the potential buyers, assign your LLC, because again, we're not wholesaling the contract. We are selling our position in the LLC and the contract goes with it, but assign it to the optimum choice. Notice Sherman said the optimum choice. Sometimes the person who offers you the most amount of money is not the optimum choice. I have literally had people, when I was doing this full time, which is many, 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 many moons ago, offer me way more, ridiculous amounts more. And when I say to them, okay, well, what are you gonna do with the property? I just gotta get my first deal done. I said, well, you understand at that number, you're way overpaying. I don't care, I just gotta get my deal done. Okay, who's funding your deal? Oh, I'm gonna take it to Bank of America. That's where are you kidding me? I'm gonna let you tie up my property for 2 to 3 days or a week before you realize that you don't have a clue what the hell you're doing. And then I got to fight to get you to like unwind this deal. No, I'm not going to give it to you because you're offering me the most amount of money because you don't know what you're doing. I'm going to take this deal to somebody who knows what they're doing, who can get it closed, because it's better to have experts. Write this down. Write this down. Write it down. I'm going to write it down. I've said it before. I'll say it again. You ready? I'll even put it in handwritten font, in quotation marks. X% of something is more than 100% of nothing. Every day. Close quote. Who said that? Sherman. Misspelled my own name. Oh my God, that's sad. Got it? You guys getting that? X% of something is worth more than 100% of nothing every day. Do not take the highest offer if you feel like the person you're doing business with is a little shaky. Because the reality is the deal may not close. And then they've tied up your deal for 2 days, 3 days, a week, 2 weeks, in which case, by the time you realize that they don't know what the hell they're doing and the deal's going to fall apart, you don't have time to wholesale it to somebody else. At least not without going back to the seller and offering them more earnest money deposit so you can get more time. Don't put yourself in that position. You want the optimum buyer, not the highest buyer. Any questions on that? Any questions on that? That's right, 100% nothing is still nothing. There you go. Nothing from nothing, leave nothing. All right, what questions do you ask to screen your potential buyer? Great question. Simple stuff like, how many deals have you done? If they're like, this is my first, that's kind of a red flag. Who's going to fund the deal for you? I'm going to use money from Bank of America. That's definitely a red flag. Who's working with you? Who's your mentor? I don't have one. I've been watching YouTube videos. Oh, Lord, have mercy. How quickly can I hang up the phone? Does that make sense to you guys? Give me a thumbs up, right? Right? The blind lead the blind where? Put it in the chat box. The blind lead the blind where? Into the ditch. Now, you're not blind. You have surrounded yourself with folks from Real Investors. You surrounded yourself with mentor, coach, right? So you're not blind, but you're still new to the game. Last thing in the world you want to do is wholesale it to somebody who knows less than you do because they offered you more money. And then they can't close, and you don't have enough time to wholesale it to somebody else. And then you'd be like, Sherman told me on day 18 not to do that. Why did I do that? Because they offered me 10,000 more. And I wanted to be able to walk into Real Investors and say, look, I got a $20,000 wholesale fee. You got a $20,000 wholesale fee on a deal that never closed. In other words, you got nothing. You guys with me? Nothing times nothing leaves nothing. Okay? At what point in time do you establish the clone LLC? Oh, great question. And I'm sorry I missed that. That is a fantastic question. Right after the contract is ratified. Now, in some cases, great question. In some cases, you may have to establish a second LLC to make an offer, because if you go after some kinds of properties, like we're going to talk tomorrow about going after properties that are on auction websites like Hubzu and auction.com, they will not let you change LLCs. If you are going after properties, you talk to any one of our Diamond Coat, Martinez, Jesse, Steve, Kevin, Stephanie, on and on and on and on. They'll tell you, look, if you're going after HUD-owned properties or FHA properties or VA foreclosures, they're not going to let you modify contract. You need to have an LLC already in place. So you will create an LLC just for those deals. But I don't want you running around at $300 a pop, creating all these LLCs that never get used, right? Therefore, the standard way of doing it is the second you have a ratified contract, you're going to create the LLC. So that really, you know what? I messed that up. So let me go back and change that. I messed that up. Boom, 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 boom. Where are you? Where are you? Where are you? Here, right here. As soon as you have a ratified contract, you need to open title. You need to open title. You need to post it so you can get a buyer, and you need to create clone LLC. Or actually, it's not really a clone LLC. You're going to create the property specific LLC. Okay? Great question. Okay? Put that right there. That really shouldn't be a handwritten font. I'm going to go ahead and use my favorite font in the world for teaching, which is Tahoma, bold. And I like burgundy. I don't know why I like burgundy. I just like burgundy. Except you really got to be black, because that other thing's, you know what? I don't like that for this. In this particular case, we're going to use typewriter. There we go. And I'm also going to put a bullet next to it. Forgive me, I'm just geeking out here, guys. Forgive me, I'm just geeking out. William Shatner, Star Trek, Captain Kirk, know how this thing works, even though I'm not the one who creates these things, right? So we're going to create the property specific LLC. Got it? Good question. Thank you for asking. Caught me. Who verifies that the buyer has funds ready to move forward? That's actually pretty easy. And this is also a very, very, very good question. When you get a letter, proof of funds letter from a hard money lender, make sure you maintain a good relationship, because the seller may very well call your hard money lender and say, did you provide this proof of funds letter for so-and-so? And the last thing in the world you want that person to say is, who's so-and-so? Right? So talk to your hard money lender, make sure they know what you're doing, right? Make sure they got your back. When you get somebody who wants to buy the property from you, and they say, well, I'm going to work with like, first of all, I was facetiously saying they're going to say they're going to work with Bank of America, and you know that's not going to work, right? Bank of America is the wrong answer. Their credit union, anything that's like Bank of America, my credit union, those are wrong answers, because they're not going to be able to close the deal. And you know they're not going to be able to close the deal. Everything we've been talking about for the past 18 days, you know, they're not going to be able to close a deal with that kind of source of money, right? So if they come back at you and say, well, I have this hard money lender. Okay, great. Do you have a proof? Do you have a letter from them? Do you have a proof of funds letter? You can ask for that, and then call them. By the way, I'm getting ready to wholesale a house to so-and-so. They gave me your name, proof of funds. I'm looking at proof of funds. You're okay with that? Just so you know, I'm going to charge them a wholesale fee. Are you okay funding a deal that has a wholesale fee? Oh, you're not. They're going to have to pay for that separately. Okay, good to know. And by the way, what other question do you ask that hard money lender when you have them on the phone after you've screened them to make sure that they're actually going to fund your buyer's deal? What else do you ask them? What else do you ask them? Put it in the chat box. What else? Yeah, you can ask them how long it take to fund. Yeah, will you fund my deals? Oh, and by the way, you need any new clients? You think you can give me, like, how do you work? Tell me more about what you do, because I like to use you. You see what I'm saying? This is how you build your team. This is how you build your network. Go in motion, stay in motion. You learn this business by doing it. You pick up these other members of your team by actually being in the game. Being in the game is way better than being on the sideline, folks. Way better. Okay? All right. Great questions and great answers. All right, so we screen, we get the optimum. Okay? Then we use that assignment agreement. Everybody has the assignment agreement. That's when you pull that thing out and use it. And you are assigning the LLC, and the contract goes with it. Anybody have any questions on that assignment agreement I gave you? And understand this, you will learn it best when you're actually using it. Okay, read it, understand what it says. Don't be afraid to ask me any questions. Feel free to ask me questions. If you don't have any questions today, ask me questions in the Facebook group. But the real learning on how that works is when you actually have a deal under contract. So we will be talking about that form over and over and over again once you start getting offers out the door and getting stuff on the contract. Who should be members? That doesn't change. You are the sole member of your LLC. You sign the assignment agreement. If for any reason the buyer defaults, no harm, no foul, but do not make them a member of the LLC until you get the settlement date. If you make them a member of the LLC now and they default, you have to unwind that transaction to salvage the deal. Everybody understand that? You want to be in complete control for as long as possible. Nothing wrong with you going to the settlement and signing off on the paperwork and then immediately assigning the LLC to the other person. Now, if the other person's the one who's actually getting the loan, the lender may make them the managing member. In which case, the day of settlement, there will be some paperwork that your title company will do. And that's why it's important to have your title company that switches you out from the managing member and makes your end user buyer the managing member, because that's how the lender wants to see it go down. But that doesn't have to happen until the day of settlement. It can happen at the settlement. But you don't want that happening too far ahead of settlement if the buyer winds up defaulting on the deal, and then you got to take them out. Okay. All right. And by the way, what's the easiest way to get them to go away if they default? What's the easiest way? Think about this for a second. You have a property under contract. You formed a new LLC. You now have an assignment agreement to assign the LLC. That end user buyer has given you a chunk of money, non-refundable. It all says non-refundable. And then before settlement, you got to take them out. Yeah, give them back the money. But Sherman, you said it was non-refundable. Yes, but if that's what you got to do to make them go away. Now, again, if you never make them the managing member to the day of settlement, everything's got to fall apart the day of settlement. Could it fall apart the day of settlement? Yeah. But what you don't want to have is a situation where it falls apart 3 weeks from settlement and you could potentially wholesale that deal to somebody else. But now they're all entangled and encumbered in your deal. Okay. Is Milestone title investor friendly for wholesale? We recommend Milestone a lot. Carissa O'Neill, who is the owner of Milestone, has talked has presented at our group a lot. She knows who we are. We know who she is. If it's any consolation to you, my last 3 deals I closed at Milestone personally because of the service that I get and the fact that they understand what we're doing. So I would say yes, Milestone is most definitely an investor friendly. Are they the only one? No, there are other ones out there. And truthfully, every diamond coach has 2 or 3 title companies that they use for different reasons. There's another title company that I like a lot because the person's incredibly knowledgeable, and the person really does get investors and has helped salvage a lot of deals, but she's not crazy about the way I teach people how to wholesale a deal, and she's blown up 3 wholesale deals. And so we stopped sending our members over there because it was fun. The weirdest, wildest thing, I actually had her come to our office. We actually did a session together where she agreed with every one of the points that I made. And then we sent clients over to her, and she found one way or another to blow up their wholesale deals. So we're like, you know what? Stop sending folks. Stop. We don't need any more of our new folks trying to get deals done, or excuse me, not trying, but getting deals done and to have the title company blow it up. No, we don't need that. And what she was doing was real simple in her mind. She was like, yeah, I know you formed this new LLC, and I know you're assigning the LLC, not the contract, but just to make sure that I don't get in trouble, I want to have everybody at the settlement table sign an agreement that says they understand that you're wholesaling the deal. I'm like, but you're not wholesaling the deal. You're selling your interest in your LLC. Yeah, I know that, but just in case somebody, well, that blows the whole deal up. You're at the settlement table, and somebody's like, okay, well, why? They're like, okay, well, why are you assigning the contract? Then the contract saying can't assign it without permission. Well, I'm assigning it because I'm going to make a $10,000 profit. What? 3 deals blow up because of that. So I had the person in my office say, hey, let's talk about this. We talked about it, totally agreed that the concept, and I gave the example. Listen, if Alfonso and I decide to partner together and I decide to buy Alfonso out, do I have to tell the seller who's selling us the property that I'm buying my partner out? No, you don't tell them any of that. So how is this any different when you're assigning a contract? Excuse me, you are selling your interest in an LLC. Well, it really isn't, and it makes perfect sense. Okay, great. We got an understanding. Wonderful. We'll continue sending people to you. And when we send people to her, she's like, okay, I got one more piece of paper I need everybody to sign. Just so you know, Alfonso is making a $10,000 profit by assigning the contract to the person that, like, how do you think that's going to end? Everybody thoroughly ticked off with each other. I'm like, you know what? Stop sending our wholesalers to that person. Because all she's doing is blowing up people's deals. It doesn't make any sense, right? Does the LLC that is created for the sale require an independent registered agent? Every LLC requires a resident agent or registered agent, and every state calls it. And what I would suggest you do, Marsha, is go back to that day where we talked about forming LLCs. Anybody remember what day that was? I'd have to go look it up. Does anybody real quickly remember when we went online? I know who knows. Who did I help? Frank. Thank you, Frank. I helped Frank. By the way, did you get it done? Did they get it done yet? Day 6. Day 6. All right. Marshall, please go back to day 6 and rewatch the video for day 6 where I actually helped Frank go to the state of Maryland website and get an LLC. And we talked about all of the resident agent stuff, registered agent, Okay, you're welcome. Very, very welcome. All right, anybody else got any questions on the assignment of the LLC? And everybody understands we are not assigning the contract. We are selling our ownership stake in the LLC, and the LLC has the contract to buy the property. We're selling the LLC, and the contract is coming with it. Everybody got that? That's what this document says. Read it, go through it. If you have any questions after this session today, please feel free to ask me questions in the on the Facebook page. All right. And then next step, take that first non-refundable. Now remember I said you should be asking for twice as much money as you have at risk. So if you have $1,000 at risk, you should be asking your end user buyer for $2,000. And you need to make it very clear that the $2,000 is non-refundable. Non-refundable. Now, if you had $1,000 at risk and they paid you $2,000, how much money did you just make? How much money did you just make? Because it's non-refundable. You can do whatever you want. Thank you, Carlos. Yes, you just made $1,000. I don't know what 1099 is, right? You made $1,000, unless it's a typo. You made $1,000, $1,000. Thank you, Carl. Now, does anybody remember how much Amy said a virtual assistant will cost if you go to real virtual assistant, not assistants, if you get a real virtual assistant and engage them, how much is that virtual assistant going to cost you for the month? $800. 1,000 minus 800 sounds like what? 1,000 minus 800 sounds like what? 1,000 minus 800 sounds like you and your spouse going to Ruth Chris Steakhouse to celebrate the fact that you just got your first deal done, hired a virtual assistant on the spot, and you're celebrating the fact that you got a deal under contract and wholesaled, and there'll be another $8,000 or $3,000 in 30 days. But in the meantime, you just hired a virtual assistant who's going to get those offers out the door so you don't have to. And that's why you're taking your spouse out to dinner. You got your first deal done, and you got your first VA on board. Does everybody understand that? Does everybody understand that? But Sherman, you said 90% for 10%, and that's 80-20. If you get a virtual assistant on board who's getting 25 to 30 offers out the door every week, what's the likelihood that you're going to close 2 deals instead of 1? Did your business just improve dramatically by bringing that person on board? And if you get 2 deals done at $5,000 a pop, what's your profit? Now, some of you be like, well, I'm not going to hire anybody until I've had 3 months of making $10,000. Then I feel safe and secure paying $800. You can do it that way, or you can do what Sherman recommends. The second you got a check in hand, go reinvest it in your business and let your business grow. And stop being a sole proprietor, a self-employed. And engage somebody who's going to make your business grow and do what needs to be done even when you can't. Does that make sense to anybody other than me? I know some of y'all be like, well, I just made $2,000 and I reimbursed myself for the $1,000. I made $1,000. I need to go on a shopping spree. Because you know Nike got some brand new shoes out and they're only $997. There's some new Air Jordans. And I give myself some Air Jordans with $999. Like, why don't you just put it back in the business and let the business grow? And take the one thing that you're going to hate the most. I'm telling you guys, you are going to hate getting them 5 offers out the door every day. You're going to struggle to get those 5 offers out the door every day. And even after you get into the groove, you're like, God, there's got to be a higher and better use of my time rather than filling in these stupid blanks. Yes, there is. Take the first check you get and reinvest it back in this business by getting yourself a virtual assistant. If you get a deal under contract, have you proven to yourself that you know how to get the offers out the door and your fellow team member knows how to negotiate a deal because you got one? Once you understand that the thing is working, put it in somebody else's hands and let somebody else do it. And let your business grow. Can I tell you something and you guys will not be offended? Please tell me you'll not be offended if I tell you the truth. If I had to answer all the questions some of you guys have that you send to Lisa, I'd want to hurt myself. Do you think any less of me because I just told you that? There's a reason why Lisa's got a job. I know you guys got questions. I know you need help. I know you need assistance on this and this and this and this and this. But do you guys realize if I had to get on the phone every day for 2 hours and show you how to download a PDF, I'd want to hurt myself? So why are you going to do that to you? If you fully understand what I just said, why do you want to put yourself in that position that you're doing the administrative things that you need to have happen to make your business work? Why not just put that in the hands of somebody else as quickly as possible? Never automate a process unless you know it works. Well, if you got a check, is the process working? How many checks do you need to get before you prove yourself, okay, it's working now? You want to know people, I got to do 20 deals before I go hire somebody. Really? I'm the kind of person, like, as soon as I know I got one, okay, it's working. Who gonna take this over? Because I'm not doing this no more. I promised you guys this. I'd show you how to get your first deal done in 21 days or less. I'd demonstrate a process that's repeatable. I'd show you a process that you can put on autopilot. And I promised you the big promise. I'm gonna take you to the land of milk and honey. I'm gonna show you how to get wealth and freedom. Well, what kind of freedom are you going to have if you're doing everything in your business just to save money? Doing everything in your business because you don't want to bring anybody else on board. Doing everything in your business because it's not morally correct to be paying people $10 an hour in the Philippines. You'll make a lot of money and you'll hate every minute of it. You'll hate your business. You will absolutely positively hate the business you created because you're doing everything. You will see your family going out on a beautiful Saturday afternoon in the summertime or the spring, going to a picnic, enjoying themselves, and you're going to be the one sitting there filling out offers going, I got to get these offers out because I fell behind, and I know Sherman said I need to get 100 offers out, and I got nothing out for the past 2 weeks, so I'm going to sit here all weekend long writing up 100 offers. You will hate your business and hate yourself. And oh, by the way, your family won't think too highly of you either because you can't come do family things because you're busy filling out the blanks on your contracts. Is that really the life you envision for yourself? It's not the one I envision for you. But if that's the path you want to choose, hey, we're all adults here. If that's the one you want to choose, as far as I'm concerned, the second you know that something is working, the second you want to get in a check, take that money, reinvest it, put it back in your business. You get, well, Sherman, now I got somebody, okay, get another deal done. Talk to your other team members and say, look, guys, we got to get at least 2 deals done a month so I can make 90% and let you guys do 90% and pay you 10. Now, don't tell them all that. Just tell them we got to get 2 deals done a month, guys. And be the coach. Be the head coach. Be the owner. Be Captain Kirk or Janeway if you prefer. And let your team do 90% of the work so you can keep 90% of the profit. Your first strategic hire, yes, is your agent, but right on the coattails of that, right on the heels of that, is getting yourself a virtual assistant who will do the administrative stuff that needs to be done to make your business work. And if you're not getting offers out the door every day in a consistent fashion, this part of your business will not work. Everybody getting this? Give me a thumbs up, please, if you understand where I'm coming from. You may not fully agree with me, and that's okay. I'm not asking you to agree with me, right? But I'm here to tell you the truth, and I'm here to tell you how this actually works. And you can try it your way, and when it fails, come back in here, do it my way, and then please come back and tell me, you know what, Sherman, I should have listened to you all along. Because once I got that part of my business running and then automated it by turning it over to somebody else, it gave me a consistent cash flow, it gave me an understanding how the business works, and it freed me up to go do something else. Go do something else that'll help you learn, grow another skill set like nothing down investing or commercial real estate investing or rehabbing, or just chill or quit your day job. But if you get a virtual assistant on board, it will more, she will more, he will more than pay for themselves, because they're going to get stuff going in a consistent manner that allows you to have the deal flow so that you can keep 90% of the profit while they're doing 10% of the work. And the sooner you get that person on board, the faster and the bigger your business will grow. Okay. All right. Question. Chris says, do you give the VA the list of properties after being screened by your agent? Guys, where are these questions coming from? Whose business is this? Somebody please answer in the chat box. Whose business is this? If it's to be, it's up to me. What are you talking about? Your agent screening your deals. You should be pulling your own deals. You should be working with your virtual assistant to pull deals. You should be getting offers out the door. So the only thing your diamond member coach has to do is call you up and say, hey, highest and best, get out there with your contract, tell me what to see so I can negotiate and get the fish in the boat. If your diamond coach is doing anything other than that, they're slowing your business down. They're a pinch point on your business. You got friction in your business that will kill your business. I'm Captain Kirk. I can't leave the dock. The dudes with the yellow uniforms are getting hot dogs. I know I told him it was time. I know I told him we were going to be leaving at 1300, but it's 1310 and they're still getting hot dogs and I can't do without them. Really? They're in the yellow shirts. They're going to die anyway in the first episode. Pull the ship out and count them as AWOL and keep on moving. Your job is to get out there and go where no man, no woman has ever gone before. Explore new worlds. If you're Captain Kirk. Not beg for permission for your crew to decide it's okay to leave. Are you letting the folks on your team decide whether or not you have permission to win? You are running a multi-million-dollar NFL franchise. If your team members can't keep up, fire them and get somebody else. Do I need to go back to that sheet that says team roster? Come on, guys. It's your business. Run it that way. And do not allow other people to put a stranglehold on you getting done what needs to get done. We pull the deals, but our agent screens them. How many times am I telling you? Look, I get it. You may have a diamond coach who says, listen, before I turn you loose and you start putting offers out in the street, I want to see the first 5. I get it. That makes perfect sense. But after you've been working together for a couple of weeks and your person saying, I have to screen all your offers before they go out, do you understand that will bring your business to a screeching halt? Instead of getting 5 offers a day, 10 offers a day, you're going to get 5 offers out a week. And then you're going to be angry about the fact that nothing's happening. Well, the person you should be angry with is you. Because you let somebody hijack your business. Well, my agent said to do it this way. Tell your agent to cut it out. Stop getting sucked back into the matrix. You've already escaped the matrix. You're going to let a traditional real estate agent pull you back into that? That's what traditional real estate agents do. Well, I have to show you 10 properties before we sit down and write up one. We are not here to be a part of the matrix. We are here to hack the matrix. Anybody here with me? We're here to hack the matrix. If you're here to hack, put in chat box, I'm here to hack it, not join it. If you have an agent, I don't care whether they're in Real Investors or not, and they're telling you that they're not going to let you put your offers out in the street after you've done it a couple times, please schedule a call with the 3 of us so I can tell them, move your license someplace else. You are slowing down the progress of our clients who want to make money because you want to go back to the old way of doing things in traditional real estate. There's no room for that here. Hey, it's Captain Kirk. We were thinking about exploring new worlds, but I know I can't go anywhere without getting permission from Starfleet. Starfleet, is it okay if I take the ship another 10 miles out today? Because, I don't want to go anywhere that you don't give me permission to go. I know my 5-year mission is to my continuing mission is explore new worlds, find new places, meet new people. But, I just don't feel comfortable going another 5 miles without checking in with Starfleet. You know what Starfleet's saying? We got the wrong captain in that chair, commanding that ship. Bring him back. Let's put somebody else in charge who actually wants to grow a business. Does that make any sense to anybody other than me? Give me a thumbs up if that makes sense to you, okay? It's your business. If it's to be, it's up to me. I get it. No agent wants contracts going out with their name on it and you don't know what you're doing. But once you understand and demonstrate that you know what you're doing, tell them to stand the hell away. Step back and let me do my thing. Because the only reason you're on my team is to call me up, tell me I got highest and best, talk to the seller's agent because I can't till I get my license. And once I go out there with the contractor, renegotiate the best deal we have. But your job is not to slow me down. If you think that your mission in life is to slow me down, I got the wrong agent. And by the way, put yourself in the agent's perspective. They know for a fact that they can't make phone calls. They can't do highest and best unless you're getting 25 offers out the door every week, 5 a day. Why in the world would they want to screen what you're putting out and slow you down? The only person they're really slowing down is themselves. They're going to get a 3% or better commission off of a closed deal. Who in their right mind says, I'm going to slow you down, so instead of doing a deal a month, you're doing a deal every 6 weeks, or 6 months, or maybe not even doing that, because sooner or later you're going to quit. Go find yourself another agent, or find another agent with the Real Investors, or go someplace else. Why in the world would they do that to themselves? They don't make any money unless you're closing deals. Why should they get in your way? Now, I'm not saying that's not happening, but if it is, for crying out loud, you better let me know so I can have a conversation with about, you need to step aside or step off. Because we don't do the traditional thing here at Real Investors. We don't get in the way of our clients at Real Investors. We don't slow our clients down for no good reason. Now, if you've been meeting with them privately and they're telling you stop doing that because you're messing it up, and they tell me, well, the reason why I have to keep on screening them because they can't get it right, that's a different story. That's a horse of a different color. But if you're doing it the way we've been talking about with minor modifications, you should expect that your diamond coach at Real Investors is probably going to want to screen maybe your first 5 or 6 just to make sure you got it right, but then they're going to get the heck out of your way. They know that. They know that. And if you're getting anything other than that, we need to have a conversation. Three of us need to sit down real quick and talk about, why are you in this person's way? And maybe behind the scenes, they'll tell me some stuff, right? But we'll be there, we'll be in the meeting together, so you'll hear it too. That maybe, okay, maybe there's a good reason. But if they can't give a good reason, I'm gonna reassign you to another diamond member who gets it, and they're gonna go back into remedial training. Trust me on that. We don't need friction, unnecessary friction, anywhere in this process. We just don't. That's not what this is about, okay? We're all here for the same reason, to help each other make money, not give each other grief. That's my promise to you as the broker, okay? So if that is happening, let me know, okay? All right, so step 11, take that first non-refundable profit and go invest in growing your business. Get yourself a virtual assistant. Got it? Okay. What's this? Okay. You keep on asking me the same kind of questions and you're doing it directly. So you're having some serious issues with your agent. We need to replace them. So like, let's get through this 21-day. But next week, we need to schedule a call, the 3 of us, with your agent and find out what the issue is. And if the agent is a problem, I will replace them. And if the agent doesn't understand what I've been sharing with you guys for going on now 18, soon to be 21 days, I will put them through some remedial training so they never do this to anybody else. Is it possible that that happens? Sure. But as I said before, the Real Estate Commission has one gun at one head. It is my job to make sure that the agents understand both the law and the house rules. And the house rules at Real Investors is we are here to serve our members. That's rule number 1. And unless you're asking us to do something that's illegal, immoral, or unethical, we are here to serve you, which means we show you how to do it, we get out of your way, and then we support you in building your business. That's how we get things done. Okay? So if that's not happening, and it sounds like it may not be happening for you, we need to have that conversation sooner rather than later. And I need to replace that agent and get them out of your way and replace them with somebody else who will do what you need to have done. All right. We're having communication failure. They aren't screening offers. They screen listings to get more information. That's different. Screening an offer means they have to see your offers before they go out. That should not be happening after you get past that sort of first initial stage. But if they're screening listings to give you more information, yeah. I mean, because you have access to the MLS through the customer portal / client portal, but we have access to the MLS through the agent portal. So there's a whole lot more detail on properties that you're not seeing. So yes, you do need to have your diamond coach provide you the stuff that you need, excuse me, especially when you get the highest and best. Maybe not in your initial offer, but when you get the highest and best and you're going out and looking at properties with your contractor, there may be some stuff you need to know. And on some properties, you're not going to be able to submit offers via email. You're going to have to upload them into some kind of a portal. So yes, there is some stuff that we need to talk, yes, that's absolutely correct. That's absolutely correct. Okay, so maybe this is just a semantic thing And Sherman just about bust the gasket for no reason. That happens a lot around here. But if you're talking about somebody screening your offers before you put them out in the street, no, that should not be happening. If you're talking about somebody helping you to get more information because you don't see everything, yeah, that's kind of going to happen. So if I misunderstood, my apology to everybody, and I probably just need to go take a chill pill and put my feet up and relax, and we'll be good. All right. So, but is everybody with me on step 11? Step 11 is as soon as you get that first ratified contract, reinvest that money back into your business. Okay. Step number 12, go to settlement, pick up the rest of your wholesale profit, pat yourself on the back, plan that family vacation. And if you have not already, pick up that virtual assistant. So again, you can start putting your business on autopilot. The name of the game is as soon as you can afford it, and you can afford it as soon as you close the first deal, right? Because you're talking $800 for the month, right? But as soon as you can afford it, get somebody on board to help you build your business. Okay. It's all good, Sherman. We know you. Yeah, but man, that's a whole lot of stress I didn't need to have. Never mind. Don't listen to me. All right. Step 13. Put phase 1 on autopilot. At the end of the day, get this business in the hands of somebody else who's doing the day-to-day work. Get your business in the hands of somebody else who's doing the day-to-day work. One of the reasons why I really like Star Trek, The Next Generation, Picard had his first officer. First officer was doing everything. Cap was back in his ready room playing chess, talking to people, having friends over. But Riker was the one who was running the show. Riker was the one doing the day-to-day. Captain had to come up when it was like the big stuff. That's where you want to be. That's where you want to be. Checking in from time to time, making sure that stuff's getting done. Sherman, I'm missing how to get the wholesale profit. Okay, I'm not sure where I lost you. If you use your Mayo formula and you get the property under contract, and then you ratify the contract, and then you put the property out into the street to market it to a buyer, your buyer is going to offer you more than what you have it under contract for. And if you don't find a buyer to offer you more than what you have it under contract for, what do? If you can't find a buyer who will pay you more than you have it under contract for, what do? You exercise your weasel clause and get out of the deal. Exactly. Okay. Normally, what we're seeing in the market, it has been this way for 20 plus years. Phase 1 deals that are found in the MLS, you should expect about a $3,000 to $5,000 profit as a wholesaler. Will you occasionally get a $7,000 check or a $10,000 check? Yes, but on average, about $3,000 to $5,000. I generally recommend you get $2,000 of your non-refundable earnest money upfront, and then get the rest at settlement. If you wind up when you wind up going after phase 2 or FSBO deals, that profit goes up dramatically. Most profit checks we're seeing now on FSBO deals is a minimum $20,000. So you go from 5 to 20, it's a 4X. Not uncommon to see 50, that's a 10X. And we've literally had people within the past year or so get $100,000 six-figure wholesale profit checks on deals they found that were FSBO, not in the MLS. And that makes perfect sense. Somebody who has not hired a real estate agent, somebody who does not know what the market analysis is, somebody who has not pulled comps and has no clue what their property is worth, is probably making their decisions based on either A, what they paid for the property 20, 30 years ago, or B, what a parent or a family member paid for the property, a grandmother paid for the property because they inherited it. And they have no clue that the property that they just sold for $200,000 or $300,000 was worth $500,000 or $600,000 because they weren't paying attention and they didn't do their homework and they made a mistake. And it happens all the time in the world of FSBOs, which is why we're all going to get into FSBOs. But it's not where we start. If you go call a homeowner and say, hey, do you want to sell your house? And they're like, yeah, what do you give me? And you haven't done any of the stuff we've talked about for the past 18 days, don't know anything about the stuff that we don't have any of the tools that I've given you over the past 18 days, what do you offer them? How do you close it? Who does your negotiation? If you haven't been where I've taken you over the past 18 days, you don't have a clue how to close a FSBO deal. Now, we're still in day 18 of a 21-day program, and some of you have not had the chance to get offers out the door yet. But are you feeling a whole lot more confident about how this business works and about your ability to now talk to FSBOs somewhere down the line? Anybody feeling a little more confident after having spent 18 days with me? Give me a thumbs up or give me, okay. So you're going to get to the FSBO stuff sooner rather than later, but we're going to get the phase one, the MLS stuff up and running. And oh my God, how much faster can you go on the FSBO side if you have a virtual assistant who's on call to do a lot of the stuff that you need to do with FSBOs that you don't have to do when it comes to, like, if you do FSBOs, you guys understand you got to market, you got to do yellow letters, you got to do email campaigns, at least got to do some social media stuff. You don't have to do any of that stuff to get a phase one deal. You don't need a website. I'm gonna teach you how to do a website, but you don't need a website to do what we've been talking about for the past 18 days. You don't need a website. You don't need yellow letters. You don't need flyers. You don't need marketing campaigns. You don't need to know how to do Facebook ads or Google. You don't need to do any of that stuff to get in this business and do what I've been teaching you for the past 18 days. But as I promised you on day one, if you put all that other stuff aside and focus on getting the first deal done and do what I'm gonna teach you, as I promised you day one in 21 days, you'll get the first deal done. You'll be in a position to put it on autopilot. You'll be in a position to generate $100,000 a year, which I'm gonna show you tomorrow how to do, day after tomorrow, how to make it 200,000. And you'll be in a position to pivot into that other stuff that you really wanna do and get those bigger checks. Remember how I said, it's a five-phase process. Quick cash, chunks of cash, cash flow, wealth acceleration, legacy wealth. Notice that arrow has not come off the green quick cash for the past 18 days. Nowhere in here did I promise you we're talking about chunks of cash. Chunks of cash is that phase two FSBO, where you start going from $5,000 wholesale fees to $20,000 wholesale fees, to $40,000 wholesale fees, to 10x $50,000 wholesale. Need I remind you guys, I said to you right now at the very beginning of today's lesson, I said, we're here. How to manage the system and what to do once you go in motion. And tomorrow we'll talk about reverse wholesaling and getting 10x wholesale profits. Some of you guys are like one day ahead of me. Just hang in there. This is what we're going to cover tomorrow. I promise, with all my heart. All right. So let me get back to the right slide. So once we get that first wholesale check, now how do we get it? We do exactly what Sherman said to do over the past 18 days. Put ourselves in a position to have our investor agent negotiate a deal for us and put it under contract. And then once it's under contract, sell it to an end user buyer. And the difference between what you have it under contract for and what they pay you is your profit. And you collect 2,000 of it up front and you get the rest on settlement day. Unless, of course, it's a DC deal. DC so hot, oftentimes the buyer will pay you all of your profit up front. They'll check over your paperwork, they'll go check out the deal, make sure it is what you said it is, and then they'll write you a check for the whole thing in DC. But that doesn't generally happen outside of DC. Okay? Any questions on any of that? Any questions on any of that stuff? Okay? All right, next. Put that phase one on autopilot. I think that's where it was, right? And then once you have that thing on autopilot by using your virtual assistants to do 90% of the work, so you keep 90% of the profits, then you pivot into what's next. So what's next? Phase two in FSBO deals, online auction sites, which is another easy way to find properties that you can also have your virtual assistant do for you, rehabbing to resell, rehabbing to buy hold, small scale commercial. That's what you pivot to next after you implement what I've been teaching you for the past 18, soon to be 21 days. But we got to get past that first deal. And we got to take what we've learned and put it on autopilot, because that sets us up for everything else that happens next. Do we work with our diamond agent on phase 2 deals? You can. You can. Now understand, FSBO deals, for sale by owner, most for sale by owners, they're not willing to pay for an agent. If they did, it'd be in the MLS. However, you can ask your agent, your diamond member or coach, to do some things for you, like negotiate on your behalf, but you may have to pay them. Well, if your wholesale profits are going from 5,000 to 20,000, maybe the way you do it is you partner with them. And instead of earning a 3 or 4 or 5% commission, maybe split profits with them. You find the deal, and then you get them to do everything else. Anybody think that's a fair trade? You find the deal, and then your diamond member agent does everything else. Negotiate, get the title work done, right? Because again, it's not in the MLS, so there's still more work that has to be done. And if you're not feeling like, hey, I want to split 50-50 profits on a $20,000 wholesale fee, because maybe I didn't write that down when Sherman said X% of something is worth more than 100% of nothing, then find another way. It's okay. I can make suggestions and you're like, Sherman, I'm a big boy, I'm a big girl, I don't have to listen to you. And that's okay. That's what makes America great, right? You don't have to listen to everything I say. I'm just offering suggestions, okay? All right, but that's what's next. And we pivot, understand, we pivot into those things. We never fully get away from phase 1. I have never fully gotten away from phase 1. But you said, Sherman, you don't have a virtual assistant, you're not putting offers in the street. No, but I'm teaching you guys how to do it and saying, hey, bring me the deals. And over the years, I've done a lot of deals with members of Real Investors who have followed the 21-day system. And then once they got a deal, rather than like going out there, scouring the earth for a buyer, they're like, Sherman, can I bring it to you first? And oftentimes it never goes any further than that. Many of the deals I have done over the past 20 years have been basically deals that wholesalers have brought to me from Real Investors. So that's my way of still doing phase 1, okay? And if it makes sense for you to partner with me and you'd like to partner with me, trust me, if you're following what I'm teaching you, you've done enough of the work that I can take it from there if you want me to be your end user buyer, okay? All right, any questions on that? Whew. So folks, that is your 14-step process. And the great thing is we've recorded it and you can go back and watch it. And if you've been doing all the lessons from day 1 through day 17, there's not a single thing I said tonight that doesn't make sense. Because everything I've talked about in this 14-step process, we have covered at least once or twice, and some things 3 or 4 times. So who got questions before we wrap this thing up? Because we're coming to the end. Anybody got questions? Thank you, Dee. Everything made sense. Great job pulling on it. Thank you, Mike. Appreciate that. Thank you, Dorothy. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. But if you do have questions, you can either ask me now or watch this in the Facebook group and ask questions in the Facebook group if there's anything I said that's not clear, okay? But I want you guys to understand, everything you need, you have in the power of your hands. And if you need my help in going into the next step, we'll talk about that tomorrow, okay? Hard money lender website. Mike, tell me what you mean by hard money lender website. I know I promised to teach you guys and show you guys how to create a website in 3 minutes or less for your business to attract buyers and potentially attract private investors. And I will show you that tomorrow, excuse me, day after tomorrow. But I don't understand what you mean when you say hard money lender website. So please, if you could. Okay, so we have a relationship with several hard money lenders. We have one preferred one right now. If you go to realinvestorloans.com, it will take you to our preferred hard money lender, and you can fill out their application, which is, I think, is like a 10 or 14 question questionnaire, and they will provide you with a proof of funds letter. Okay, thank you. Dorothy just typed it in, realinvestorloans.com. Okay, is it common for a potential buyer to ask what my profit will be? No. And by the way, if they ask you what your profit will be, how do you answer that? If they're asking you what your profit will be, how do you answer that? Anybody have any ideas on that? I have mine. None yet. No, I wouldn't say that. Why do you want to know? No, I wouldn't say that. Anybody want Sherman's answer? Here's how I would handle it. So you're buying the property from me because you're going to rehab it and resell it. Yep. And you're probably going to make a profit when you finish rehabbing it, reselling. Yep. What's your profit going to be? And whatever answer they give you, you give it right back. If they tell you what their profit's going to be, tell them what yours is going to be. Their profit's probably going to be 40, 50, 60, $100,000. So you're going to make 100,000 and you're mad at me for making 5. Really? How's that work? Well, it's none of your business. Well, you know what? It's none of your business. Well, you don't need to know that. Well, you don't need to know that. You see what I'm saying? Just ask them what, like, they're not buying the property from you as a hobby. They're buying the property from you to make a profit. And there's not a single rehabber that's worth their weight in gold that's not making at least $35,000, $40,000 in this market as a profit. Well, that's probably going to be 4, 5 times more than you're making, 7 times more. Like, they're making money, and they're making more money than you are. So rather than getting all wrapped around the axle about answering the question, just ask them a question. And if they give you like, well, I'm going to make $100,000. You know what? I'm only going to make 5. Tell you what, can we hang out together and I'll bring you more deals and you can show me how to make $100,000 on my rehabs? Take every opportunity to make it an opportunity. Don't get hung up on the, don't immediately jump to the it's none of your business. Ask them what they're going to make. And whatever answer they give you, you give it right back to them. If they're really willing, and if they're willing to be honest and transparent enough to tell you what they're making, maybe that's somebody who you want to have mentor you on doing some rehabs. And the deal is, the currency of real estate is the current deals. Maybe the deal is, I'll bring you more deals if you show me how to make $100,000 on my rehabs. Because I'm not there yet. But if you're willing to show me, I'm willing to bring you more deals. Anybody who's transparent enough to tell you how much money they're going to make, they may very well be willing to coach you and mentor you a little bit. So turn that potential negative into a positive. So don't just immediately go to the none yet. Okay? Does that make sense to anybody other than me? Give me a thumbs up. All right. So let's wrap this up, because what is wrong with you people? Another 3-hour session. I said we're going to go for an hour. Y'all got me going for 3 hours. You just keep me going and going and going like the Energizer Bunny. Boom, 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 boom. All right. So let's bring closure to this session tonight. Tomorrow, I've got a special treat for you. Like I said, we were out in the field all day today shooting some video, and I hope to share those videos with you. I got to do a little bit of editing only because some of the stuff it just didn't make any sense, and I had to reshoot some of it. But most importantly, I want to make it just sort of as clean and crisp. There's also a lot of stuff we videotaped that really was like, right? We don't need to see that. But that's what I have planned for you tomorrow. Your homework for today is please go through what's in that week 3 booklet. Also go through the revised one I sent you today, and just get comfortable. And if you have any questions on any of those, anything just doesn't make sense, please go ahead and write the question or upload the form into the Facebook group and ask your question. And to the best of my ability, I will come back and give you an answer. Okay? So that's the homework for tonight. We got a case study I want to share with you, and then after the case study, we'll wrap things up. So here's the case study for today. And oh, by the way, this case study for today will make even more sense tomorrow.
My name is David Ragland, and this is the house that we have recently wholesaled through our LLC, David Neal LLC. We found this specific property through Hubzu.com with help from our agent, Mr. Marks. It was listed at, I believe, around $200,000 at first. We went through the normal process, even though this was our first auction, of calculating the Mayo, looking at our ARV, excuse me, and then pulling up comps, specifically for this style of home. This is a split boiler home. So everything below those steps, they don't count as above ground square footage. So those, when you pull comparables, you need to get the right amount and the correct amount of square footage for split boilers.
tell you what, let's head on inside. Let's take a look. Okay, let's head on inside.
Okay, so when we first came into the house, it was a complete mess. The entire ceiling, there weren't even lights right here. The entire ceiling was, it caved in, and there was drywall, all sorts of material I had never even personally seen before all around. The tile that the cameraman is standing on right now was incomplete. The stairs, I believe, they were hardwood floor, right? They were hardwood floor, just matching this up here. First, the ceiling was filled in because that was a key part. There was absolutely no ceiling that you can see up into the attic. That was the first thing. The second thing was renovating the kitchen. Some of the tile pieces were broken, the countertops weren't up to date, and the stove wasn't up to date either. Along with that, a sink replacement came in. Cleaning all the mold and stuff out of the fridge, that was dirty as well. And then all that was left for this room specifically, I believe that's the big stuff, was just, cleaning the fans, cleaning the ducts, replacing some of the chip tiles. Back deck was fine, back door was fine. And really, it was installing these lights right here after the ceiling was put in, because there were no lights at all except that chandelier. And
Got some folks with me. These are members of Real Investors, also thinking about becoming private investors with me. Let me take this thing off, it'll be a little bit easier. But got a couple folks thinking about becoming private investors with me in this deal. So I invited them to come on out and see the deal. That's the way I work. If you're going to be an investor with me, I want you to see what we're invested in before, after, during, and a good chance for them to look over my shoulder and see how I do what I do. But numbers look like this. We're buying it from my son, who's wholesaling the deal. He's asked for $265, and the preliminary estimate we got from the contractor was $18,000, but the contractor had not been inside the property, so this is the first time inside. I'm quite sure that 18 is going to go to 25 real quick because nobody knew that the ceiling was missing. But it's not in bad shape. And my main concern was the basement smelled a little musty, so I want to go around back and check and see what the situation is with the drainage. Musty smells oftentimes indicative of a wet or leaky basement. Hard to see what's going on because the basement was finished, which is a good thing because then we don't have to spend any money to fix it up. But it's a bad thing from the standpoint of if it is leaking, we wouldn't know unless we start tearing out walls to see if there's any mold back there. So something we just got to be a little sensitive to and be a little aware of. But the house, built like early 1980s, looked like they replaced the hot water heater. Are those solar panels? The solar panel. The house got solar panels. Oh my God. It's a freaking gold mine. You guys understand what it costs to put solar panels on a house like that? Wow.
I'm David Ragland. I'm Neil Vermillion. We're real investors and we get real checks.
So we say a step-by-step process so simple, even 2 high school grads can do it. And those of you who don't know, that was either the 3rd or 4th house that Dave and Neil did last year. They were investors of the year, investors of the month twice. Couple mistakes they made on the deal. They did some good things, did some bad things. They actually found that deal on an online auction website. We'll talk about how to find deals on online auction websites tomorrow. That particular one was found on Hubzu. They had Jesse working with them and he helped them negotiate the deal. But because it was a split foyer, meaning that half the house was below the front door, half was above, it was very difficult to find comps. And the only comps that were in the market were about $10,000 to $20,000 less. So we had to renegotiate the deal and we had to renegotiate their wholesale fee. And they actually wound up making nothing on the wholesale fee, except I then turned around and hired them as construction managers to manage the contractor and paid them $2,500 for construction management work. And that's one of the things that we'll also talk about tomorrow is like, what do you do when the deal's so tight that you can't make any money? And they were more than happy to have me pay them to learn how to manage the construction on a house. And now they're ready to start buying houses to rehab themselves because they understand how that construction process works. So we'll talk more about that tomorrow. But on a scale of 1 to 5, 1 being, Sherman, this was not your best work, and 5 being, yeah, you know what, I learned a couple things tonight. I'll be back tomorrow. How'd we do? How'd we do? 10s. I love it. 5 pluses, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5. Thank you, guys. Greatly appreciate it. Again, there'll be a place in the Facebook group to upload your homework. Your homework is just go through the forms. If there's anything you just feel like I don't really understand, you want to ask me about it, upload the form and ask me the question. I need to see the form when you ask the question. Don't just ask the question and don't upload the form, because we may not be talking about the same thing. And for those of you who have not had a chance yet to upload your mock contract, do the mock contract and upload it, because we're getting to the point now I'm ready to go ahead and assign you to a Diamond member coach. And I want to make sure you've done this a couple of times before I put you in the hands of somebody, because the next step is to do it for real. And better to sort of make your mistakes here with family than make your mistakes out on the street. Okay? Thank you, guys. Appreciate you. Appreciate you so, so much. Hope this was a helpful session for you tonight. And see you soon. See you tomorrow. Wow, see you tomorrow night. Bye.